Looking free. All right. All right. Welcome to the New Music Podcast. We have a very special guest that wants my babies. How about you introduce? I'm Kyle, and
I'm Patrick. I'm over here. Here I am.
Over here, somebody, especially, we got a special guest that wants my kids. Like always, somebody's got to have my kids.
Dude, my name is Jared Smith of the band Heliocentric, and I desperately want Kyle's babies. If you want to help me get Kyle's babies, please head over to my Spotify account, type in F on your keyboard, and Kyle's babies. DM me. I will get my hands on that genetic code.
God, word.
Oh, what a beautiful introduction for what I expect to be a beautiful conversation.
Oh, yeah.
We literally need you to be like our advertisement.
I'll just isolate that clip right there and just start using it for Facebook and Instagram ads.
Dude,
right,
I would
fucking
not
there.
be mad at this.
Boom, 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 boom.
Oh,
all right, so, it's an exciting time for you right now. I want to say you guys because every time we do an interview, it's a full band, but you're a one-man band. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's funny though because like
I didn't even know that. To be completely honest, I didn't know. I didn't know you were the Jared Dines. I didn't know that.
Jared Dines.
That's
Except
the middle
he
name.
plays drums. I just program my crap, so I'm not quite as cool as him. No, but funny enough, though, even though I am a one-man band, sometimes in like promotional stuff, I'll still speak in the plural because it still just sounds too weird to say like, yeah, I at Heliocentric. It's like, it just sounds weird. Oh, man.
We here at the New Music Podcast definitely enjoy that. We do that plenty.
Very, very much.
But here's what needs to happen. In order for you to be the Jared Dines of your genre, what you need to do is you need to invest in this guitar right here.
Oh, fucking Christ.
That one. I think that's got like 30 or 40 strings on it.
Holy hell.
That's
Listen,
fucking disgusting.
I'm so desperate for sponsors that like if Ormsby or Skirvison came at me and was like, hey, we want you to play this 29-string guitar exclusively for the rest of your career, I'd be like, all right, fine. I'll do what I need to do. You guys want me to play a banjo with your name on it? I'm happy.
I feel
That
like
sounds
the
like-
proper...
Sounds like us right now, like honestly.
I feel like the proper response to that would be, does it gent?
Oh.
If it gents, then it...
Does it fucking gent, bro? Shit.
Is it John?
John.
Yes. With a zero.
The zeros. You get it.
As soon as you said that, I felt the need to put my pinky out. I was like, oh, shit. We're getting fancy up.
Go.
New Music
Pinky
Podcast. Shit. Pinky out.
Oh, man. Like usual, we are so off topic, and we've only been recording for like a couple minutes. So, it's an exciting time. You just dropped your full length, your first full length. Is that right?
First full. Yeah.
Yeah, you had an EP in what, 2015?
No, that was earlier this year as well.
Okay.
So it's weird because like I've been sitting on a lot of music for a while, and then only recently did I finally come across a producer who gave me the production value so that I could actually start like putting it out. So I've had like a kind of like an avalanche of music that's been built up over the past few years. So
I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, the EP came out in January, which was super weird because I was in the Middle East when the EP dropped. So like I had sent my producer all the stems and he was like mixing and mastering it. And by the time he actually finalized it, I was doing a study abroad in Jordan in the Middle East. And so it was super bizarre. Like, yeah, I'm coming out on the scene and I'm 10,000 miles away.
Yeah.
It was super bizarre.
What you should have been doing was slapping stickers all over Jordan.
Oh, dude.
Like, yo, come check us out.
Funny enough, in Jordan, it's complicated, but like metal music was kind of banned from the country for a little.
No,
But,
no, I know. Yeah.
Well, like the story that I heard was like there's a lot of like hearsay around it. Some people were like, yeah, like this one band, like the popular Jordanian metal band, they were like devil worshippers. And then the other story that I heard was like, no, that's bullcrap. It was just that the lead singer was gay. And so the government like stomped that out and was like, hey, yeah,
Wow.
you can't do this anymore.
Jesus Christ.
We
So
need to get Rammstein to perform in Jordan now so that we can get another public kiss. That'll probably piss off their entire government set. Yeah, that'd be great.
I know, man. Dude, yeah, if Jordan had a metal scene, I would move there in a heartbeat. Such a cool place.
Well, Jordan, Arizona has a pretty good metal scene, but that's Arizona, so you know.
Yeah, Arizona's not on the list.
Oh, that's too bad. That's where I plan on moving.
Seriously?
I lived there for 4 years.
Gotcha.
But moved back. It's a whole story. But today's not about me. You can come to the podcast if you want to hear that story. Go to a regular episode. So Kyle, what's
if we plan on talking about you going to Arizona, which I don't want you to go, I'm not gonna lie, but
well, that's a topic for another time then.
Yeah, because
we'll table it.
Because we both promised we'd do something and we still haven't done it yet. So
it's in the works, man.
I know it's in the works, but
you know me, I operate on a slow roll.
I know you do,
but I get shit done. If there's anything,
so I got a bone to pick with you. By the way,
here it is. It's finally coming out.
I got a bone to pick with you. I got a bone to pick.
Me or Patrick?
No, not Pat.
Okay.
I got a lot of bones to pick with Pat, but no, this is you. This is you.
Fair enough.
Every fucking time I heard that album, by the way, it's fire. It's fire. But by the way, you're a cock tease. I fucking hate you. Now, here's the reason. Let me explain myself, okay? Every time I got like all suddenly went like I can't remember what the fuck song it was because I don't listen. I don't actually look at song titles. I just listen to it. But so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I think it was like the third track, I believe. I can't remember.
That'd be Rome, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. I'm not sure. But I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I hear bum 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 or something. It was something. I was like, oh shit! And I'm sitting there in my kitchen like ready to fucking go. I was so fucking. And I was like, oh my god, wait for this fucking breakdown. Give it to me, Dad. And then all of a sudden I heard you yell, and then all of a sudden I just heard just a regular fucking
Like the chorus.
Yeah. And I was like,
come back in.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was so ready to come. Are you serious? Motherfucker. Like, it happened every fucking track that I thought there was going to be a breakdown. I'm like, oh shit, breakdown. Oh, okay.
Dude, I don't know, man. So I started playing guitar with a 7-string, and I was just genting the hell out of that thing from the second I got it.
Of course.
And so I feel like I got the open chug breakdown thing out of my system really fast. But maybe it's worth revisiting. I will take that criticism for the next album. I will add more breakdowns.
You need like all the breakdowns. Like holy fuck! I love
Kyle,
some breakdowns.
Let's take a moment and take a step back here because while he edged the shit out of you, created some blue balls, I'm gonna call him an edgelord just for that reason, just because I want a reason to say that. But honestly, like I understand Christian metalcore. So that is kind of like a recurring trend in Christian metalcore, or at least some of the bands that I mean, I guess that depends on how deep into the Christianity they go.
Yeah.
Abstinence is a real fucking thing.
Yes, that's a fact.
But there are plenty of examples of bands that will do a build-up that seems like it's about to drop into a heavy breakdown, but it goes right back into that clean chorus because to those bands, that's what they want. They want people to sing along, and they don't want people to mosh. And I get that. I totally get that.
That's interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I'll have to
did we put more thought into it than he did?
I think you did.
Yeah, I think you did, fam. I'm not gonna lie to you because I don't listen to some Christian metalcore bands. Well, one metalcore band in particular, Issues. But Issues is fucking lit. But
Never listen to them.
oh my god, fucking listen to it right now.
You're about to hear it.
Oh my god, you about to learn today, bitch. Look at Issues. I'm telling you right now. Oh my god.
All right, I'll put them on my list.
Well, they dropped a new album, so I want you to listen to the old shit and then go into the new shit because they're completely
if you don't
different.
Understand where they started, you can't appreciate what
Yeah.
they've done.
Facts.
But there are a lot of bands out there like that, but Issues is a very good example of that. I did want to ask though, what were some of your inspirations, like some of the bands that inspired you when you were going through the writing process for this band?
Yeah.
I have a couple of thoughts in my head, and I want to know if they're true or not.
Yeah. So, like, when I started picking up the guitar and writing riffs, that was right as Silent Planet dropped their first full-length album. Do either of you guys mess with them?
That is 1 out of 3 that I was
One
going
out
to
of
ask
3.
you about. That's one.
I don't. I'm gonna get crucified by the comments, but I have no idea who the fuck that is. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
That's fair. Dude,
I have
are...
definitely mentioned Silent Planet. In fact, they did their B-sides earlier this year, which was
I'm pretty
sick.
sure. I'm pretty sure you've mentioned it, but
Kyle, we've been down this road before. You've forgotten something that I've said on the show.
I know.
Kind of like the Jason Momoa story of getting the singer of Archspire to help him with screaming. Yeah, I did say that on the podcast.
I don't remember.
I did on episode 24.
Drunk, okay, I drink when
25.
I do this podcast.
It was episode 25.
I drink when I do this podcast. Every time I get done with the podcast, I'm like, I can't remember what I said.
This is why I forgive you for that. In fact, I stumble out to my family and they kind of just stare at me. But yeah, so Silent Planet seemed, I knew right away that vocally, at least, that was a big inspiration.
Yeah.
Especially the fucking gutturals. Oh my god, your gutturals are fucking. Oh my god. I can't remember what song it was, but the fucking gutturals just.
If I had to guess, I think it was either Flicker or God of Apathy. Maybe
I think it's God of Apathy.
Yeah.
Phrygia. I don't know if I'm even saying that. I was close. Phrygia. Okay, cool. I'm okay with that. But
the fucking
that song in particular threw me off, like in a good way.
Solid.
All right, so
girls, bro.
But I wanted to ask if there was other inspirations, like for instance, there's one genre in particular that really stood out to me that like as a possible inspiration, and that's emo-core, which would be like the, like Alisana type of stuff.
Never even heard of them.
There was just too many moments where like the clean singing would come in, and it reminded me of that style of music, and I was wondering if that was like a stylistic choice or if that was just how it came out when you recorded it.
No, I don't think I listened to a whole lot or like any emo core. It's always the frustrating thing, right? It's like, oh, what bands inspired you? You're like, crap, like what have I been listening to lately?
Yeah.
So I mean, like Silent Planet is like the biggest inspiration. There was another Christian metal band that I was really into and still love called A Plea for Purging.
Great band.
And they had some amazing stuff. And then probably my third biggest influence is Meshuggah, because they're gods, they're deities incarnate.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. And the only time that like that really really shows is on the track Perpetual. I mean, that's it. The song is like is just.
I definitely get that now. Now that you say that.
Yeah.
Muting. That song has 5 different time signatures in it. It's stupid. It's just like it's unnecessarily.
So
like,
that brings me to a question then. All right, so were you, because the title of the album, if you haven't already heard us say it yet, it's Perpetual Felicity. Was it intentional for you to transition the song Perpetual into Felicity to flow the way that it did? Was that something you did intentionally?
Yeah. So there definitely is a lot of intentionality to that. And I should break down like the title of that, because it's a cool thing.
That is something that could use explaining to some people that wouldn't understand what those two words together, or even by themselves would mean.
Sure. So the whole album, I guess you could call it like a concept album. Like it's one coherent theme. The album is about the ante-Nicene martyrs in the church. So ante-Nicene means before the Council of Nicaea in 325. So that sliver of history from 0 to 325. That's sort of where like a lot of my research has been done. So like all throughout this album, it's super obnoxious and egocentric, but like there's footnotes scattered throughout the album, and a lot of those are reflecting on like early sources that are like ancient pieces of literature and writing that we have from that sliver. So the name Perpetual Felicity, it's named after two female martyrs that were martyred in 203, and their story is just batshit crazy. Like, so even to like people who aren't religious, it's like it deserves and warrants your attention. So essentially, you have two martyrs, Perpetua and Felicitas, and who were martyred and were killed. And a number of scholars on either side of the aisle have pointed out like there is some strange irony in that Perpetua and Felicitas, through their martyrdom, according to Christianity, they achieved what their Latin names translate to, which is perpetual, which means eternal, and felicitas, or felicity, which means joy. So like they achieved eternal joy through their martyrdom. And so that's the gist of the whole album. And so the other songs deal with other martyrs, like the song Rome deals with Ignatius of Antioch, who was killed in the 2nd century. He was a bishop, and he was essentially like sent to Rome, in like he was basically shipped there to be executed, kind of to be like they tried to make an example out of him. And so they sent him to Rome, but what he does is he writes letters to the churches in the surrounding areas, and he writes a letter ahead of himself to the church at Rome, and he says, what is about to happen and what's about to take place, don't try to stop this from happening. This is the will of God. And he goes there and he's eaten by lions, which is, yeah. And so
Jesus Christ.
Oh man, it's
those lions got quite a snack that day.
You're not wrong. No, but even like the verbiage that he uses, because we have his letters, right? That's the thing that like blows my mind. It's like even in the Christian world, people just don't realize like there's this whole sliver of history that's way more interesting than like the Reformation. I mean, the Reformation is its own
right.
But
so it's funny. I will ask a question after I say this, but it reminds me of actually a game that I streamed on my Twitch. Actually, I don't know if you heard of the
Shameless
Council.
plug.
I know it's a shameless plug, but I'm not going to plug it. I'm not going to plug it. Okay, I'm not going to plug it.
Give your Twitch name. Just give
all
your
right,
Twitch
fucking
name.
Mocious Bruh. Okay, Mocious Bruh.
We got to do one per episode.
No, you got to spell it now.
MOSHIS BRAH. But yeah, I know. I apparently I have to do it almost every fucking episode.
It's cool.
But
it's cool. I'm totally into it.
But I was the Council. I don't know if you heard of the game, because I've never heard of it until like 3 days ago. But it's literally based on Christianity. Like literally based on Christianity. And as the viewers and the listeners know, I am an atheist, so I was born again Catholic. But I turned into atheism. But it was basically, I streamed the whole thing, and it's basically puzzles on Christianity, like the First Testament, to be specific. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my fucking God. I need to literally have the Bible of the First Testament right next to me to solve these fucking puzzles. Yeah, but I mean, you obviously know a lot more about Christianity than I do, because I mean, I try not to pay attention to. I mean, religion and politics is a big thing that we really don't. We try not to get into.
Right.
We try not to get into, because, like, you know, a lot of people are Christians, a lot of people are Buddhists, a lot of people are Islamic.
Mhm.
I try not to. I mean, I respect everybody that does whatever whatever you want to believe in, whatever gets you through the day, whatever.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't know. Personally, what do you personally, you know, for your religion personally?
Mhm.
What would that be personally?
Yeah. So it's weird to talk about, right? So like I in the duration of like writing this album, I went from being like a charismatic Pentecostal Christian to essentially being an atheist. Um, and it's weird because like I say that and you would think that like, oh well, now I have to like get rid of this album and like,
Yeah, right.
but honestly, I that feels like it feels like the opposite for me. And now it's like I can just look at like the lives of these martyrs and just appreciate it more for like what they are rather
Right.
than feel like I have to like defend it or like give a creedal defense as to like this or that. And I feel like that's been like really liberating for me. So you know, I don't feel comfortable like saying I'm a Christian, even though I
Oh no,
really
yeah.
appreciate religion and Christianity in particular. Um, but like, yeah, I don't know, just feeling like you don't have to be like an apologist or you have to be like a lawyer
Right.
for that belief. Um, it's liberating, right? And that's been really cool. And it also
Yeah,
frees
I
me up
get
to
that.
like,
Yeah.
there's some tracks on the album that are not like they're written from the point of view against Christianity or against Orthodox Christianity, you should say. So, like, for example, the song God of Apathy, it's right before God of Empathy. The whole thing with God of Apathy is it's complicated, but it's essentially an attack on the character of God, presuming that God is the God of the docetics. And that's, I'll unpack that. But essentially, in the early church, you have two factions who kind of swing on either side. So on the one hand, you have the Gnostics, or I'm sorry, you have the Judaizers and you have the Ebionites who say that Jesus is not God, who say that he's just a man. He's maybe a prophet. He's doing some solid things. Maybe he's the Messiah, but he's definitely not God. On the other side, you have a group of people called the Docetists and the Gnostics, who are trying to claim essentially that Jesus was God, but he was not a man. And so they're trying to argue that like Jesus was basically a phantom. He was like a poltergeist who was like floating around on the earth, and that's how he was able to do these miracles. But it creates a problem.
I don't know. I have a lot of doubt about that
Yeah.
personally, but go on.
Well, so the point is that like it creates a problem theologically for the character of God. Because then the question becomes, well, like, well, wait a second. If Jesus, the whole point of him coming to earth was to suffer and die for us, yada yada, if it only looks like he experienced my pain, if it only seems like he experienced what I suffer as a human being, then God is a farce. You know,
God's
he's like a
performance
politician.
artist.
Yeah, he's a performance
Yeah.
artist. He's like a politician who's like, I'm one of the people. I'm just like you who struggles with 750 an hour. And you know, he like rides away in like a limo.
All right, Trump,
Like,
calm
fuck
down.
you.
All right,
Calm
Trump,
down,
calm
Trump.
down. Chill out, Trump. All right, I shouldn't have said that, but fuck it.
No, you're fine. But so like the whole perspective of God of Apathy is like an accusation against that belief. And even like I'm not religious anymore, and like for people who aren't religious, it's a whole question of like, you know, do you enter into the suffering of the people that you're trying to empathize with, or do you just, you know, take Snapchat pictures of yourself looking like you're helping? Are you actually doing something, or are you just like measuring your own dick while you're, you know,
The
doing
whole
X, Y, Z?
slacktivism argument.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I hear you, man. So it sounds like it was an interesting writing process for you, but it also sounds like the album as a whole is your struggles with your beliefs in a way, while also kind of touching on certain moments in history that have heavily inspired you. Is that accurate to say?
Like, I want to be polite and say like yeah, but I don't think so. Like, I definitely want to write music that's like more specific about the struggle in the future, but like, or my own like personal struggle. But I think
Right.
that what I was really trying to do in this album is sort of like feel out the whole gamut of like perspectives on what does it mean to be martyred. Are the martyrs heroes, or do they have a victim complex? Are they worthy of our admiration, or are they worthy of our criticism and disdain? So, for example, like you had asked about the tracks Perpetual and Felicity and the way that they flow into each other. So, you know, as I previously said, the album is named after Perpetua and Felicitas. The thing that makes their martyrdom like so difficult to grapple with, because you have like everyone in the Christian metal scene who are like overly triumphalistic, and to a point that it's like that doesn't always work pragmatically. I literally remember this. I was at a mosh pit.
Oh god.
I was at a Christian metal show, and you know, I'm sure that this band never went anywhere, but he was a local guy, and he was like super charismatic and fiery, and he was like, listen, I just want you guys to know that I love Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ loves you. And if you don't like me saying that, then you can put a gun to my head and pull the trigger, because I know where I'm going. And it's
What
just
the
like,
fuck? Wait a minute. Holy
down.
shit.
It like
Alright.
it's super weird.
So in the past on the show, we've talked about like bands that are like for today that take more time out of their set to preach than to actually
Yeah.
play music.
We were actually talking about that the episode that's coming out, actually. We were talking about that,
So-
actually.
It kind of just, it's one of those moments where like you're going to piss off everybody on the spectrum. You're going to piss off
Oh,
the
yeah.
people that aren't Christians, and you're going to piss off the people who are Christians.
Probably.
Yeah.
So where do you win in that moment? But
Yeah.
with that said,
That reminded me of a meme. Like, well, I want to mosh for the Lord. Christian metal was. I want to mosh, but I want to mosh for the Lord.
and that's why you go to Bong Rips for Jesus Christ shows, because that band is the band you go to for that. Good
Or you
old
just go to-
Christian slam.
Or the old fucking Infant Annihilator, the first fucking album of Infant Annihilator.
Were they-
Depending on. They are Christian. They
Yeah.
are Christian. Yes, they are, sir.
No way.
Yes, they are. The first album and the second album is about the
I will
First
say,
Testament.
I can definitely confirm that Dan Watson is in fact very devout Christian.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yes.
I can't.
Yes, sir.
We've talked about this on the show, but I've never done much research beyond the point of just Dan Watson being very devout Christian. But I can confirm that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, get him on the show, man. That'd be solid.
I
I'm
would
trying. I'm
fucking
working on it.
fangirl. I would fangirl. I'm not even gonna lie. They're
I
one
already-
of my favorite bands.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Let's just say that much.
Well, like-
Switching.
It's like with the reason I brought up that guy, right? He's like, there is that spirit of like, we were persecuted and so we're in the right, and
Oh,
huzzah,
that's
right?
fucking
And so
sick.
like I wanted to demonstrate kind of like that element of it, but then there's a much like darker side of martyrdom that Christians are way more hesitant to talk about. And I mean, you could talk about martyrdom in the sense of like religious martyrdom, but there's also political martyrdom, social martyrdom, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean,
But
to be willing to give up your life for your cause speaks
Mhm.
to more than just your religious beliefs.
For
I mean,
sure.
So
that's
it's
just
very
an
relatable.
extremist, a very
then-
big extremist.
For sure. But so then it raises a question, like, you're willing to give up your life for what you believe in, but when does that go too far? And is that the right thing to do in every situation? Like,
Right.
and
I
you-
really want to say something, but I'm not going to. It's like
Shut
the
up, Kyle.
terror-
Don't say that.
I was gonna. Well, no. I mean, fuck it. I mean, we're a podcast and we like to say our mind, but I would have to say Islamic terrorists at that point.
no, for sure. For
Like,
sure.
we get it.
Mhm.
Allah Akbar.
And it's-
Boom. We get it. But don't fucking do that. We understand that you're doing that for your religion or whatever, but come on. Don't take other people with you at that sense. Like, come on.
I think
Yeah.
it's something to be said that it might sound like we're talking about two polar opposites, but they're
Yeah.
both based off of the same ideology. While, we have I know I'm gonna mix this up a little bit, but I know that they are both somewhat related to the idea of the God of Abraham.
Right.
So they're both considered Abrahamic religions.
Mhm.
And so for that reason, they at times, especially throughout history, will follow the same path, and that is that, you're going to do this kind of shit because they want to spread the word and do what they feel is right and make it so that they are the hero of the story no matter
There's
what.
there's
Mhm.
always going to be an extremist in no matter what religion. There's always going to be an extremist.
Except for
Mhm.
Buddhism.
Always. Well, I love how you slipped that in real quick. Except for Buddhism.
I mean, there is aggressive Buddhism, like hardcore
Oh,
Buddhism.
yeah.
It exists. It's a thing. And one of my favorite books, I can't even fucking remember what it's called, but it does exist.
Mhm.
But it's just one of those things. Like you definitely see that more prevalent in the Abrahamic religions as opposed to most other religions.
Yeah.
Which is, it must be tough, like being in that perspective, both as a musician and as a person, because you feel like you were constantly on the defense. Would you agree with that, Jared?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think that, like, so much of my Christian life was spent like trying to give a defense for the faith. Like atheists come to you and they're like, yeah, but like, what about this, the book of Philemon that talks about slavery in the New Testament? And what do you do about like in First Timothy, Paul not saying that women can be pastors, and isn't that kind of sexist?
Or
And,
gays
like,
or
or
whatever.
gays or
yeah.
X,
Right,
Y, and
and
Z.
the thing is like, we're talking about a book that was written thousands of years ago, first of all.
Yeah.
And then second of all, consider how much has changed in the time that is aforementioned. So it's, of course, every religion likes to try to evolve with the times.
Mhm.
And so I begin to wonder, how much are you going to let an evolution with the times kind of stray you from the original message? Because when you tell the same story 1,000 times, it's bound to change.
Right, right. Well, so it's an interesting thing, like talking about, like, yeah, it was written thousands of years ago, and that it's a really interesting thing to me because, like, on the one hand, that is a really, really long time ago, but like on the scale of human evolution, that's like a blip. Like 2,000 years and compared to 50 million years of human evolution, it's like, well, this is a pretty recent phenomenon.
And
so
that's kind of a tough argument to make within some Christians because not everyone believes in evolution.
Right, right.
So that is already treading tough waters.
And I guess my point would be towards like the atheists. The thing that like is so interesting to me, and this gets into like Jungian psychology and a lot of other stuff.
Oh, wow.
Is like, why
I did
is
not expect to hear Carl Jung on this show. Not on this one.
but it's like it deserves attention. Like, why are the Abrahamic faiths? Why is literally a third of the world so caught up in this story? Even if you think it's bullshit, even if you think it's like passe and wives' tales, it's like, why has this been the all-encompassing worldview of a third of the world for like thousands of years? And I think, to me, it's like, the way that I've been, kind of characterizing myself as like, I'm an atheist in a Christian metal band. Like back in the mid 2000s, there was always like, well, are you a Christian in a band, or are you a Christian band? There was that whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
But and so like I'm neither. I'm an atheist in a Christian metal band, because it's like, even though I don't believe in this stuff, even though I don't put any stock in it, to say, it's like, this is the only thing that's worth my time writing about, because like I get that this is like the grand narrative that is encompassed like a massive chunk of recent human history. And I think, like, studying this, you get insights into human psychology, you get insights into
A lot of history.
a lot of history.
Yeah.
So, is it fair to assume that you were raised Christian?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And so, did that affect your decision with choosing your education? Because it seems to me like you are. Is it fair to assume that you are studying religion in school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I was raised Christian, and as I'm learning in my psychology of religion class right now, a lot of young people in early adolescence will claim some sort of like a conversion experience. And so I underwent a radical Christian conversion at the age of 13. Started studying, wanted to do ministry, got way too into For Today. Am I right?
I mean, here's the thing, though. Great band.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely get why people get into that and then think, shit, maybe I just need to accept the Lord Jesus Christ. Like, I did that
That's
for
the
a moment.
key to awesome breakdowns is accepting the Lord.
Exactly. That's it. That's fucking
Breakdowns for the Lord. Hell yeah, dude.
it. That honestly, like in that same time period, it wasn't For Today that did that for me. It was the band The Devil Wears Prada. Equally as like well known, if not more so, especially at this point. But like, I'll briefly explain that. Like I want to say about 15, I was going to a youth group and I was trying to discover my identity and try to understand Christianity, at least enough to understand if that was me or not. And so I do feel like that's a struggle that every adolescent goes through, is trying to understand religion to a certain degree.
Yeah, definitely. I believe when I converted to atheism, it was probably, I believe I was like 16, 17 at that. Well, I think it was more or less, this is not for me, because I was at a baptism actually. And I was like, man, I do not feel comfortable in this church at all. So it was like, all right, I got to figure out what the fuck I am real quick. I need to figure out what the fuck I am real quick. And I didn't realize when I was looking up like atheism, it was like, you got like 37 different fucking atheists in fucking once that I learned. It was like 37 to like 63. I know that's a big margin, but it's like crazy amount of fucking different versions of atheism. And I'm like, oh shit. But like, if I'm asked now, like if you were to ask me, if you had to pick a religion other than atheism, what would you choose? I would have to go with Satanism, or I'd have to go with humanism, to be completely honest with you. I mean, yes and no, it's the same. Yes and no, depending on how your beliefs in Satanism and
humanism. Of course, which version of Satanism you decide to lean towards.
Exactly.
Which is exactly why I will say time and time again, I do not prefer any one of the organized satanic religions. I prefer to just think of myself as independent because I cannot follow the herd.
Yeah.
And I would never follow a group of people who don't want to follow the herd. So it doesn't make sense to me. And you know what's interesting? I wonder what people think when there are actual like theistic Satanists around, because they are a very real thing in this world. They usually are not very open about it, as such groups like the Satanic Temple, which are basically as they would say, modern Satanism. But it's just interesting to see that there are so many different types out there.
Mhm.
For me personally, it's of course somewhere between Buddhism and Satanism, but it's just one of those things, man. Like, everybody goes through this struggle, and it definitely makes for good music. That's for damn sure.
You're not wrong.
Because you can literally pour your heart out about that shit.
Yeah.
And mythology. You could make a fucking crazy album with mythology. I'm telling you right now. Oh my god.
About a band that does this. Like mythology, but Sabaton does a lot about like actual like basically their whole like thesis is history lessons.
Oh,
so
shit.
Along the same lines.
Threw my phone. I almost threw my phone.
Fucking hey, Kyle. Damn.
I fucking threw my phone.
Goddamn. He's ready to mosh, man.
Goddamn. Goddamn. But yeah, I would
love
to
throw down for Jesus Christ.
I'm about to Lord, I'm about to throw down. I'm a piece of shit. I love it. But yeah, definitely. I would have to say, well, like because I also at KFC, there was a very Christian, very extremist Christian woman that they used to come in all the time, and was we always had a great conversation about religion all the time. Like, I would spend hours, literally, not even working, just straight up talking to that woman, like straight up.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Of course, when I decided to announce to myself and to my friends and family that I was considering myself Satanist, that through some drawback. And I'm sure when you announce yourself as atheist amongst your Christian family and friends, there was probably some blowback, right?
Oh, dude.
So
have to say,
are you okay with talking about that?
Yeah. So like I mean, it's crazy to like contrast the place where I was. And so I always call it my coming out process, which people are like, wait, are you gay? I'm like, no, I've come out as an atheist. And
everybody's a little gay.
Gay. You think about it.
It's okay to be gay.
It's okay to be gay. All right.
So I kind of had like an arch. Like I had a character arc. There we go. That's what it was.
There we go.
You know, I radically converted at 13. And then probably the peak of my Christianity was in high school, probably like senior year. So I was the student chaplain, sort of like a quasi pastor figure, preaching like 1, 2, occasionally 3 times a week to middle and high school students. Was also the worship leader. Was doing other like ministry stuff, like it was a doozy. After that, I graduated from high school and then spent 3 years at, I call it pseudo seminary. So it was like a school of ministry. So it was somewhere between Sunday school and seminary. It's weird to explain. People don't have like a frame of reference for what it looks like, but it was like 3 years of intensive Bible, theology, and practical ministry courses. Did that, studied abroad in the Netherlands, and then very quickly realized like, oh, I don't want to be the next Billy Graham televangelist, whatever.
I mean, let's be real. They are the ones that are giving Christianity the bad name that it has, and it's not Christianity itself.
Yeah.
Because I've always said a religion doesn't need a salesman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
well said. That's the thing that's always weird to me is I talk to like some other atheists who they're like, yeah, man, I just realized that like everyone in the church was a hypocrite. And to me that was always like, well, yeah. Like I've always known that. Like of course. But for me it was always like I was able to see like, well, yeah, this person's Christianity is bullshit, but that's not Christianity. That's like homeboy is 18 years old and doped up on testosterone. Like I'm not going to expect him to be like a perfect beacon of the truth of my religion. And so I got hung up on that. Even like
that reminds me. Yeah, that reminds me of somebody that me and Patrick worked with. That he always got fucking. He always got
up at times.
Yeah. I mean, the problem was that Pat
was a conspiracy theorist as well as being a religious nut, and I love the guy to death. I swear
we love him to death.
And if you are listening, Moosey, we fucking love you.
Big Moosey!
We fucking love you because I know that he does listen to some of these episodes.
Yes, he does. We love you, Moose.
If you're listening,
babies,
quick shout out.
Yeah, quick shout out, Big Moosey.
I fucking heard that. I
didn't hear what he said. God damn it!
Sure, say it again.
It's okay. I said, let me get Kyle's babies.
Okay, let's go on to a tangent real quick. As soon as you said that, I love Big Moosey to death, but I always do gay jokes to him, so it's fun. No, I
flirt with him pretty hard.
Oh yeah,
but the joke.
But it would be. There was one point where we were driving and he was on the passenger seat and I said something gay or no, he said something gay actually, and he's like, and I was like, so I can't say something gay, and he's like, yeah, but just don't touch me, son, don't touch me. I love this fucking story all the time, and I like grabbed his shoulder as I was driving. I was like, come on, baby. He was like, yo, get the fuck off me, son. I fucking love that man.
Oh man.
That's beautiful.
Good times. Good fucking times.
Yeah. I miss that.
Yeah, I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. We've definitely hit the mark as far as getting all of the religious marks hit. So I want to talk, and I'm going to throw a quick siren right here. I'm going to do a gear sled alert really quick. What kind of guitars were you using when you recorded some of these songs?
Yeah. So I'm using an LTD 7-string. I could go grab it if you wanted.
No, that's fine. I'm sure most people that they either what is that, or I know exactly what that is and it's not good enough.
Oh yeah, I know that. Oh gosh,
it's not good
using
enough.
Fishman pickups? Are you even a player?
Right.
That's fucking Neil in a nutshell, by the way, with his drum sets.
Love him to death, but that, yeah, basically. So
we love you, Neil. If you're listening, we love you.
But so the guitars were played. Bass guitar, was that played as well, or was that programmed? Okay.
Yeah, that was me.
But drums were the only thing that was programmed, and vocals was all you?
Yeah. And the only other real instrument that we have on the album is I actually was lucky enough to stumble upon a classical harpist who her name was Rose.
Wait. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Hold on. I think I know what song that was.
She's on 4 tracks.
Never mind. Continue. I need to know more.
That face! He's trying to hide his face now.
Bro, she was such a champ. It was like I had already programmed in harp parts, and then when I was living with my buddy in Canada, he was my first producer who was helping me make this thing, and I met this this friend that she had named Rose, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm a professionally trained harpist." And we started talking, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll trade you. I do photography on the side." And so she was like, "Yeah, if you trade me a photo shoot with my harp, I'll play harp on your album for you." And I was like,
"There you go.
Dude.
Fuck it."
Here's the thing, though. The crazy thing of this photo shoot, we did it by a lake. with a super steep incline. And so if you've ever seen like how they carry harps, they do it on like what do you call those, like the stands with wheels on them?
Oh my God, I know exactly.
Oh,
Fuck.
I'm gonna kick myself in the ass for not knowing what these things are called.
Yeah, I know.
Damn it. Whatever. It was one of those things. So we carted it down this super steep hill on wheels, and it's like rickety back and forth, and then we put it up on a rock, and the rock is like tilting back and forth with like the water below. And I was like, yeah,
I'm sure the photo shoot was great, but it was high anxiety, it sounds like.
Dude, it was then that she was like, yeah, this tarp was kind of on the cheaper side. It was only $12,000. And I was like,
oh my God.
Ask any guitarist how much they've spent on their guitar, and it's easily half that.
Easy.
I almost fucking puked. I literally almost puked. Oh my God.
Dude, I told her, I was like, dude, do you realize like how many custom guitars I could buy? I could build for $12,000. Jeez.
God.
Shout out to Solar, because I feel like Solar guitars would be really good for your sound.
Oh my
So
God.
if you're listening,
Dude, Solar,
hook a boy up.
Ola, sponsor me. Send me a fan fret. That's the one thing I do need. I do desperately want and need a fan fret. So I never answered the whole question. I've got a LTD 7-string in drop G sharp with EMG pickups, and then I've got an 8-string. And then I've got an 8-string Ibanez, that's in low F tuning, with EMG pickups.
Shish.
It's a good time.
And as someone who has slapped the bass on more than one occasion, I need to know about the bass.
Dude, so here's the thing.
Fuck.
I have. So it's stupid, right? And the production for this, even like going into it, I was like, this is gonna be a bitch. It's not gonna be a good time. So the 7-string, the bass is an octave below the 7-string. So I've got, for the 7-string, I have a 5-string bass that's an LTD stock pickups. That's an octave below. So that B string is a low G sharp, which is stupid loose. It's floppy as hell.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't hear the rumble.
Yeah.
As I was going through the album, I didn't notice it once. So, props to the producers who got that rumble out of there.
You're not wrong. And then for the 8-string, I'm doing what Meshuggah does, and so my bass is a 4-string bass on the same octave as the bass or the guitar. And dude, that's a crazy story. So I literally just needed a bass to track with. I walked into Guitar Center and was like, I want the cheapest, nicest bass you got. The guy grabbed a $200 bass for me and was like, this is a Tobias bass, or it's Tobias, Tobis, something like that. And he was like, yeah, they don't make it anymore. This is what you want. Dude, the thing is monstrous. It sounds so damn good.
Oh my God.
Thing that it doesn't make sense. Like, it does not compute. It's got passive pickups that are twice as hot as my active EMGs.
Oh my God.
I have so many questions. I have so many questions right now.
Madness. I love that thing in pieces.
The first and most important question is, does it come in black?
It's matte. It's matte wood finish. And it's probably a veneer, honestly. $200. It was the fastest purchase I've ever made. I was in and out in 10 minutes.
That's pretty good. I'm not even gonna lie. That's pretty fucking good.
The pickups are where your money's at with a guitar, anyways. So long as the neck is aligned and it looks good, it'll play. It'll play.
Dude, the thing that I've become like so much more aware of is scale length. Like, that's the number one reason why I want a Dingwall, is literally just for the scale length. Like,
so
it's a doozy.
Let's move on. Oh, God damn it. Hiccups are back. I apologize, listeners. I've been battling the hiccups all day. I apologize. So, in terms of vocals.
Forehead.
Fuck you, man. Fuck
Hold your breath,
you.
forehead.
How about you ask about the vocals, motherfucker?
Yeah. No, because you've been on stage before. No, you got it. You got it, fam.
You're fucking right about that. All right, so.
All right, wow. Okay. All right.
I'll take
word.
that moment.
I see you. I see you.
This is a moment of weakness and pride for me, so I'm very conflicted right now.
Yeah, hiccup again,
so-
forehead. Do it. Pussy.
So
Dude, you're at war against these hiccups, and they will win. Just kidding, you've already been defeated.
I can tell by his face. He's like, yeah, I'm defeated. He's like, yeah, I'm done.
facts. So vocally, I've noticed a lot of different inspirations, and the most obvious one was Silent Planet because they have a very distinctive vocal style. Shit, I haven't hiccuped yet. So there's that. Are you a fan of the band She Must Burn?
I've never heard of them either.
All right, that's fine. It's just there are moments where you will hit a certain mid scream that was very, I'm gonna say screamo-esque, but not in a bad way.
Fair.
Let me make that. Let me put that right out there right now because screamo can be taken as hell yes or hell fucking no. So I was curious about what your preferred vocal style might be, whether it be false chord or vocal fry. It sounds to me like it's vocal fry, but that's just a hunch. Or do you not know the difference? Because that's fine too.
Dude, as often as I've listened through the Melissa Cross DVD thing, I still can't tell the difference. All I know is that like tracking this album was a bitch. So I only learned how to like properly scream probably halfway through the album, and even then it wasn't like I improved, but my technique was still bad for the album. And so like I don't know if I'll be able to like perform it with the same tone live. That's
Not
yet
that
to be
matters anyways, because with a live performance, people don't expect it to sound exactly
Yeah.
the same.
Mhm.
I mean, let's be real. It never does pan out that way. And if it
No.
does, they're asking you, hey, so how many backing tracks were there? So, whatever. What is it, like
Not wrong.
60-40?
Gosh.
No, it's
Avenged
all raw.
Sevenfold. Avenged Sevenfold.
Shots fucking fired. Avenged
I
Sevenfold,
could
if you're
go
listening,
more,
first
bro.
of all-
I could go more. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I could even go more. Back at fucking Mayhem Fest like fucking 8 years ago. Fuck the drummer, by the way. Whatever the fuck he had, fuck him. Because he doesn't know how to fucking play drums. It was a fucking drum fucking computer. The whole fucking show, bitch. And you were the main
you-
event. Go
Damn.
fuck
Is this
yourself.
before or after the Rev? Because if this was the Rev, I will literally drive up to Schuylerville now and murder your ass. You're about to insult the Rev. Right now, you're dead.
No. No. Why would I fucking insult that man?
He's a beautiful, beautiful human being.
But no, I literally saw, I'm dead ass serious, fuck Avenged Sevenfold. Right after this concert, I never listened to them again. Right after this fucking concert. Fuck Avenged Sevenfold. It's literally, they zoomed into the fucking drummer and he was like not even playing and you heard I was like, yo, what the fuck? You can't get you literally hired somebody that to just look pretty. I can drum. Fuck
I'm
yourself.
hitting stuff.
Fuck yourself. Fuck
That's
yourself.
insanity, man.
Yeah, you had a drum fucking computer to play your bitch ass song. Go fuck yourself. Fuck.
Gosh.
I am so livid at that. I want my fucking $20 back. Fuck you from 6 years ago. I want that
All
fucking
right, Kyle.
$20 back.
All right, Kyle. Get your bill.
I can't. I've been drinking. Can't take it.
At this point, there is no chill.
There is no fucking chill. As I grab another beer. There's no fucking chill.
It's funny you say that. I just opened up my first bitch beer of the night. So.
Oh,
shout
what
out
a
to Truly.
bitch. Hashtag
I
pet's
still
a bitch.
have a bunch of them. I still have a bunch
Hashtag
of them from episode 24.
Are they any
Anyway.
good?
Eh.
Yeah.
If you like seltzer, it's cool, but
Well, Well, his
every day.
So then you
wifey
probably would
Teal,
be into it.
yeah, probably. Wifey Teal was like, "You're a fat bitch. Stop drinking beer."
Yeah, she pretty much told me I'm a fat fuck and you need to start going with some low calorie shit.
Damn.
So literally tonight I have gone from Yinling and coffee to Truly. And after this it's probably going to be a White Claw just to change it up.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's fair.
Fucking-
Do you drink?
So I
Because we're a drinking podcast. I don't
I mean,
think you
we're always
realize.
drunk on the show. That's to be fair.
yes, I do drink. I'm such a fucking lightweight. Gosh, yeah, man, it's laughable.
Look, at least you're not Abbott, who is literally in rehab right now because he can't stop drinking.
Oh gosh, it's rough.
Yeah, I mean,
Man,
the guy's got to be like in his 40s now, and he still hasn't gotten a
Oh
grip on
yeah,
that.
facts. Or like
We were
my
just
dad.
talking about that last week.
Or like my dad. So.
Well,
Oh god,
Kyle, just say rip. When you think about
Fucking-
your dad, just rip. Rip.
pressing F on the keyboard, man.
I fucking
Yeah.
wish, but that's besides the point. No, you don't know a bitch when it comes to me when I was on my medicine when me and Pat worked together.
That's fair.
I'm
that's
telling you right now, bro, I could smell
Halfway through his
alcohol.
first year.
Oh no, it was the first fucking sip. Are you kidding me? It was literally
He was
I
already-
could take a sip. I was like, I needed a fucking nurse for the rest of the night, bro. I'm not even
Holy
joking.
Piss.
So
That's
My
a doozy.
fucking, I'm pretty sure Patrick still has that fucking video of me on my 21st birthday. It was bad.
Oh, dude, send that
It
my
was
way.
bad. No,
Oh no! Kyle
No.
will probably like come and
I will-
castrate me if I do that.
I will castrate the fuck out of him. I'll just do a short story. Like literally, I had a Budweiser box on my head for a fucking helmet. And I think the only thing I kept saying was "fuck Dave, fuck that piece of shit." Like the rest.
Dave.
Go on
Long
episode
story.
10. Go on
Episode
episode 10.
Episode 10.
Poor
We talked
Yeah.
a little too much about that.
Oh, I
That
fucking
is
hope
the official off-topic episode where we talk about how you, me, and Matt all met and started this show.
Yeah.
So
And also, I couldn't walk to my fucking hotel room that was literally 2 steps away. I needed help the whole fucking time. I
but
couldn't
you know
walk.
what? Matt and I, we were bros about it. We helped him. We made sure he got home
I was
Yeah.
bad.
Well,
I was
to
really
his
bad.
hotel room.
You're the real MVP, man.
The real MVP.
I've been that guy, man. I've been on both ends of that. It's appreciated.
Patrick
Good.
gets really fucking mad when he's super fucking drunk, and we can't help him
Sometimes.
because he's a grown,
Sometimes.
independent Patrick that does
I'm stupid independent about it too. Like
fucking nailed it. Goes back in the bathroom, pukes
Again.
like 6, 7 times.
go to episode 10 if
episode
you want to
10.
hear the nailed it story.
Go
But
episode
moving on. This is not about us, Kyle. This is about Mr. Jared. I know
I
we
know.
do this every time we do an interview, but it happens.
I know.
So moving on. What's the next item up for conversation here? Next question, really. Do you identify as a male or do you identify as a garbage can, for fuck's
I
sake, or
fucking
like a
hate-
raccoon?
I hate you so much. I
You're
want to
asking
go
so many
over to.
questions.
I literally want to take an hour drive just to punch you in the fucking mouth.
You'd probably get a speeding ticket on the way.
No, that's you, fuckface.
Oh, that's right. That's just me. Just
That's
me.
just you. That's just you, bruh.
Gosh, dude, it's painful keeping up with all of that news.
I'm not even gonna get
Insanity.
into that. I'm not even gonna get into that.
I want
I
to, but
identify as a piece of shit. I identify
So-
as a piece of shit.
yeah, I resonate with that.
I think that's going in my Instagram. That's gonna go in my bio for Instagram. I identify as a piece of shit.
Mine's gonna be I
Personal,
identify
not
as
the-
a piece
not
of
the
shit
podcast
alcoholic. Yeah,
So
I identify as a piece of shit alcoholic. There we go.
all right, I think I formulated a question in the midst of all that chaos.
How?
So it took 4 years to get this album out. So why don't you talk a little bit about what those 4 years were like, what kind of adversity you had to go through to get that album out, and why it took so long. That's the real question, is why did it take 5 years or 4 years? Sorry.
Holy hell. Yeah. So when after I graduated from my pseudo seminary, I got accepted to this little tiny college called Wheaton. And it was like, all right, well, I want to, I've got some songs formulated for this album. I want to finish it up before I start at Wheaton so that I can, feel like I got a big dick and like brag about how I'm doing stuff with my friends. And so, that whole summer, I like
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I can totally relate to that.
I love that. I just want to have a big dick. I'm sorry. I need a big dick. Sorry.
Dude,
I got big writer's dick. So. Got a really big pencil over here. You've got no idea. Biggest pencil. Moving on.
I fucking hate you.
Gosh. So I remember spending all day, every day, writing, recording. My best friend's parents let me use a room in their basement so that I could just get away from everyone and write and record. So I did that and was unsuccessful, right? And so I was like, shoot, now I have to postpone it. So I did that, and then I got a little bit better and a little bit better. And then one of my best friends, who I went to the school of ministry with, he lives up in Canada. His name is Garrett, and he's such a bro. Dude, shout out to Garrett. Garrett Vandenberg is such a G.
I was just about to say that. Shout out to Garrett.
So he was like, dude, I know that you've been working on this thing. I know that you're grinding on it and doing your best. So why don't you move in with me over the summer in Canada, and you could just track and record vocals and I'll produce your album. And I was like, sick. That sounds amazing. So
the realist.
Just hearing the proposition alone, it's hard to say no to that, right?
Oh, that's a fact.
So let me ask you, first of all, what part of Canada was this?
This was in Ontario.
Okay.
Near, what's it near? Holy hell, I lived there.
Well, isn't Ontario in the
I love that. Oh my god,
side of Canada? It's more to the east, right?
Oh my god. My fucking stepfather goes to fucking Canada almost every fucking year.
I've been over countries, and my geography is that of a third grader. It's like you told me that Kansas was a continent, right south of Australia, I'd be like, oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, I've been there twice. Right now, Google's about to be our friend right now.
So the city, I think, was called Paris.
It is.
I'm sorry.
Poor Kyle. Fucking hey, I love your laugh, dude.
And you're gonna clip this, and I'm gonna call you a cunt.
All of these things that are being said are facts.
The super generic talk show introducing. Shit, what's that called?
Introducing a moment with Kyle laughing his ass off.
Our man's just said, "What is this podcast again?" I'm fucking dead.
So it's
all the upper and lowercase letters.
I can't fucking breathe.
an interview all in upper and lowercase, interview.
Fucking SpongeGar up in his bits.
It's
oh my god,
more toward the east, but it's definitely central-ish.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I need to hit on my inhaler. I was fucking laughing so goddamn hard.
It's basically on top of the Great Lakes for anybody that wanted to know. That's a geography Slut. There
So
you
a
go.
continent.
It's its own continent.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So Garrett let me live with him for the summer, and during that summer, I got all of the instruments tracked, knocked out, edited. The thing with me is I'm super anal about details, so like I spent way too much time editing my guitar and bass tracks. I mean, like every single note is basically edited to the grid. Like it was played in time, right? But I mean, like it probably would have been safe, like if I had spent
So
80% of time editing it.
So you'd say that you were somewhere between the writing process, but also mixing.
Yeah. So like, or maybe not even mixing, but like production side. Like, all of the, where do you have the choirs? Where do you,
Gotcha.
the synths, the pads, all of that stuff was getting galvanized, solidified. So by the end of the summer, though, like we started trying to track vocals, and I realized really fucking quick, I do not know how to scream. Like I thought that I could crank this out, but I was like reaching for the heavens. And dude, I would do one vocal session and I would be hoarse for 3 days. Like it sounded, I mean, and like you could hear it. Like,
I mean,
That literally sounds like me.
specifically, it reminded me like the introduction to the album. Hold on.
Yeah.
What song was that? Was For Those Who Found Rest. That first scream was the only scream that I heard on the entire record that felt forced. The only one to me.
dude, I promise you, I promise you that I probably recorded that 100 times. Like no fewer than 100 times.
It was
And
definitely layered.
That sounds like me.
I don't think so.
Like
That was one
you
layer.
literally sounds like me. You literally sound like me. Like I want everything perfect.
Yeah.
Like that's just me.
Yeah,
I
but
think
Kyle
that's,
isn't
like-
willing to do the work to make it perfect.
All right, how about you chill the fuck out, bro? How about you chill the fuck
Bruh.
out? Okay.
Bruh. All right.
Oh, man.
But
So
it was an extensive and difficult process. Would you how much time would you say was spent on you perfecting your craft vocally?
oh gosh. Well, so by the end of that summer, I was super bummed out, and I was like, okay, well, I've got most of the album, but it's not ready. And yeah, because there's no vocals on it. So we wrapped it up, and I was planning on having Garrett do it remotely. And shout out to Garrett. I love him to pieces. He's incredible. But at that point, it was like I had spent so much time mixing and editing it, and it's like, dude, I've got some really good stems. They're just like cleaned and polished, and I feel like the production value could be higher than what I can get from my friend Garrett. All the love and respect in the world to him, but metal's not his primary genre.
What was his primary genre?
He does a lot, dude. He's done everything. He's such a renaissance man. He's done techno, he's done EDM, he's done orchestral scores. He's got like
Man
sort
After
of
My
like a
Heart.
68 kind of rock band with his brother. Yeah, Google Garrett Vandenberg, man. He's such a G.
All the listeners, Google Garrett Vandenberg.
So I respectfully and lovingly parted ways with Garrett. Obviously, we're still BFFs, but like for the production. So then the next summer, I fell in love with Melissa Cross, who to this day is my mother from another mother. And
Mother from another mother.
dude,
I love
she
that.
is
That's
a goddess.
She is.
Gosh.
Truly is.
So she saved my soul and taught me how to properly scream after years of trying to get this technique down right. And I'm still not great, but it's, the takes before were laughable. I mean, just, it's horrible.
I love that imitation right there. I love that.
Jesus
So-
Christ.
So I spent, the summer after that was all recording vocals, and then it's like, okay, cool. I've got all the stems. I've got them all. I go back to school and I start looking for a local producer in Chicago because so much of the album was like really minute, tiny production details that I didn't want to get lost. Like all of the, especially with like tracks like the intro track, right?
Mhm.
It's hard to tell, but on the intro track, there's like Greek manuscripts that are being read and they're panned left and right and reversed, and it's all this crazy shit. On track 5, Phrygia, there's like all the crazy preachers and stuff, and then there's a Latin quote from Tertullian on top of it. And it was just like all of these little details that I really wanted to supervise and kind of be a backseat driver for. So my thought was like, yeah, I want somebody to produce these stems, and I want to be there for the mixing process. So I looked online and found a guy locally who will not be named. But the long story is that I got gypped out of $1,000.
Bruh. I know how
Holy
you feel
fuck.
right now, and I'm just gonna say rip.
Dude, it
I know
was
how you
That's a
feel.
fucking rip.
it was so painful. So like after spending 10 hours in the studio with this guy, like he had gotten all the stems and he was like, I mean, he was really talking big. Like, yeah, man, unlimited revisions and like, yeah, I'm a voting member for the Grammys. And he was telling me about his $40,000 speakers. And I mean, like, to his credit, he is a voting member for the Grammys, like bona fide. He does have $40,000 speakers. He's got like a nice studio setup, but he's never touched metal a day in his life. And the first demo that he sent back, I mean, it was laughable. Like, I mean, like I could mix better just using my Apple headphones. Like, it was terrible.
Let's be real. There is definitely a massive difference in mixing metal songs versus mixing country or pop.
Oh
songs.
yeah, 100%.
So
No, that's the
to
thing.
his
is
credit,
that-
I'm sure he was good at his craft.
yeah,
But
yeah.
this was definitely this sounded to me like an opportunity for him to try to step outside of the realm that
Right.
he was familiar with.
And that's what he was like saying that he wanted to do. He was like, yeah, man, I'm really trying to break into the metal scene. But dude, I promise you, we're going to give you that that periphery sound. And he was saying all of the right things. And, you know, I was so starstruck by like, oh man, he's got like a, you know, $50,000 mixing board and all of this shit. And
I'm sure at the time it just seemed too good to be true. And then by the time it was over, you were like, damn, it really was too good to be true.
Yeah.
yep,
Right.
yep.
So, hey, I mean, I've been there. I know what that's like, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But there was a third.
There was a third producer, and this was the man who saved my ass. So initially, with my second producer, we had agreed on 2,000. I don't know if I should say like prices for like. I don't know.
I'll
if
leave that up to you, to be honest.
Okay. So I mean, like he was planning on charging me 2,000 for mixing and mastering. We were doing incremental payments, so I had paid him half. So then I took to the interwebs, right? And I went to a couple of forums and I was like, hey, here's the situation. Here's my demo of this track. Here are the stems. I got gypped out of $1,000. Can you mix my album? And dude, my inbox was flooded with at least like 20 messages of kids who were like, hey, I'll mix it. Like some of them were like, I'll mix it for free. I'll mix the whole damn album for free. Other people were, you know, a lot of those people were just starting out and mixing. So it was like a nice attempt.
This sounds to me, if I had to take a stab at it, like you went on Ultimate Guitar, went to their forums, and threw that post up and was like, let's just see what happens. And then you didn't expect to get flooded with messages. Because when I've been on the, like, either Ultimate Metal or the Ultimate Guitar, is it Ultimate? I don't know. When I've been on those forums, I've seen that type of behavior before. So I'm curious if it's something along those lines.
So it was the Joey Sturgis.
That's why right there.
Yeah.
His fanboys are borderline fuckboys, to be honest. But
Damn.
Dude, honestly,
to be fair,
say what you will.
Sturgis puts
it's
out
such
quality
a
shit.
Nice community. Like, yeah, he does. Dude,
Yeah.
like the people in that community have been like super supportive and really helpful. But so I most of the people sent me, fairly amateur stuff, though it was greatly appreciated. But this one guy, Isaiah, he sends me like a demo of the song Felicity. And I was like, dude, this is tight. And he was like, yeah, man, this was just a quick mix, but I tell you what, I'll do it for the remaining 1,000 that you would have paid your last producer. And I was like, dude, you're everything you're saying right now is
you dealt
My
with a
dick
pro.
is hard.
You're
My
dealt
dick
with
is
a pro.
hard right now.
See, I would have made that joke, but I chickened out. I shouldn't have.
It's all
Yeah.
good, dude.
You
We
should've
got you
went
in that regard.
Fucking full send, bro. Every time. Full send.
Fucking full set.
Fucking send it. That stupid fucking guy. I'm just gonna send it. It's some fucking dumbass motherfucker with a mullet in fucking Oklahoma or Tennessee with a fucking
Kyle,
snowmobile going on
Are you making
dirt.
fun of one of your cousins?
All right, chill the fuck out, bro. Shout out to Matt.
Dude, shout out to Matt.
All right, we love you, Matt.
I can't get I'm gonna go after Matt. Matt's my plan B.
All right, word. All right, I see you.
I'll
That's my
tag him in
son,
this one.
so you better be fucking fucking good to him. I'll fucking kill you.
Oh, my.
Just a little bit. So
Just a little.
bit. So at this time, third producer, how many years deep are we in the process?
3.5. Yeah.
So
I've gotten to him. I think I got in contact with him about this time last year. And so he ended up mixing my EP Contramundum and the full length Perpetual Felicity. He mixed and mastered both of those. And no, but so here's the crazy thing. So he mixed Contramundum. I love the sound of it. It was super jazzed. He mixed Perpetual Felicity. It sounds even better. I'm super happy with it. We're like 80% of the way through the mixing process, right? And then he's like, yeah, man, I'm super excited to have the bulk of this out of the way before classes start. And I was like, you're still in college. Because, I thought he was like your age, Pat. I thought he was,
Oh God.
And then he's like, no, I'm still in high school. I'm like, what?
What?
No,
Son.
no. Dude, he graduated like May of this year. Is that right?
Oh my fucking God, yo.
So here's what I'm gonna do right here. I'm gonna put a shout out on that guy.
Dude,
You're
Isaiah.
gonna want to follow his career because if he put out the quality of a record that he did for you,
Yeah.
he's only gonna continue to grow. And
No,
I
he-
guarantee you right now he's listening to the URM podcast. And if he isn't, and he is listening to this podcast, go to the URM podcast, which is basically Joey Sturgis's crew of people. Go fucking listen to that shit.
Oh,
If
dude,
you want to know about music production.
he's already like bumping shoulders with Joey Sturgis. He was like at his recently and was like down in shots with him. He I don't know. I can't disclose any of the private stuff that he's talked to me about, but he's got some exciting things in the works.
That's
Dude's a
sick.
legend.
That is
Such a
fucking
legend.
sick.
And
Oh my
like,
God.
the fact
Like
that
as soon as you talked about college, he's in college. I was like, I swear to God, if this motherfucker says he's in fucking high school, I swear to God.
it is insane, man. Absolutely.
Meanwhile, I'm just trying to fucking find new ways to jack off in fucking high school.
Yeah, but unlike
Or try
Matt,
to
you've got
figure out-
time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I'm trying to figure out not to fucking kill myself with alcohol. Like trying to figure out different ways to fucking drink.
I made this
Jesus.
joke with Neil, but you know, at that time period in my life, I was finding the most obscure porn on the net. So,
Yeah.
and it's still true. I still find it, but you know, if you want to know about that, just send us an email to the New Music Podcast at gmail.com. We'll be glad to commit an entire segment of a show to my weird interest in porn. If you want to hear about that, I guess.
Yeah,
So
feel free to send it my way, as long as it is literally just pictures of Kyle's babies.
All right, I got you. I'm just gonna
the
send you a
little
picture.
swimmers.
I'm just gonna send you like a picture of my dick or a video of me coming for you.
No, it's got to be a super close up of just your pubes.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't
Look what I
shaved.
got for you,
in a while,
baby.
so hell yeah, you about
What
to
I got
get
for
a
you,
jungle, baby
Oh,
girl.
I think
fucking
this was
braided
this
it
was
for
a
you.
cute joke that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hop on board this, and now I'm like, shit, my inbox is gonna be flooded with like dick pics, and everyone's gonna be like, hey, it's a picture of your lover, Kyle. Like,
Hey, by the way, it's fucking Kyle, but it's really my dick.
The memes that would wind up coming from that, I'm just gonna say it'd be worth it long term. The
Fuck
memes
it.
are worth it.
Fuck
Just
it. At
just
this
take
point.
the Elon Musk stance and just do it for the memes.
dude,
For the-
musky boy. My man.
Admit it, you would drive that truck. You'd drive the
Oh,
Cybertruck.
100% would drive that truck. 100%.
Kyle
Dude,
would drive the shit out of that
I'd
Cybertruck.
drive the one with the broken window.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah.
You know that one's gonna go for like triple the price, right?
Oh,
Just
fuck
because
yeah,
it's,
dude.
it's a
He
piece
got
of history.
millions of dollars in people already pretty much pre-ordering them without having to pay a cent in advertising. The guy's a fucking genius. No matter how much you want to shit on that guy,
Yeah.
you're basically fueling his fire, which is totally cool. But like, just acknowledge where he is.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Recognize where he is.
I'm convinced that like there's a couple of people in my life who I'm convinced are going to be the next Elon Musk. The main person is my best friend Kevin down in North Carolina. Dude, okay, this is the type of genius he is. So he always gets like super fixated on like a thing and just drives it into the ground. Like last month it was the Crusades. Currently he's on the carnivore diet, so he's only eating literally nothing but meat.
Shut the fuck up.
Dude, the fuck?
Mad lad. He's an absolute fucking mad lad. Dude, so we went drinking, maybe this is probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago now. We go out drinking, and I'm a little bitch, so I fell asleep at like midnight, you know, because I'm adorable.
Motherfucking pussy!
So I wake up at like 2 a.m, and Kevin and our mutual friend are out there in the living room. Maybe it's like two guys out in the living room. Anyway, so I walk out and I'm like, what are they going on about? And so I go out there and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And I look over and Kevin has a whiteboard filled, like a 6 foot whiteboard filled top to bottom. And he's explaining to my friend, he's plaster drunk, and he's doing like equations explaining why the square root of 2 is an irrational number. I was like, who in the hell is this man?
That's amazing.
Yo,
Oh
I want to
my
have this drunk
God.
conversation. With this
I
guy.
need to be all right.
I kicked off the charts.
I need you to like have him text us. We're drinking with him. I don't give a fuck.
Yes.
He'd be down in a heartbeat. No, but he's not like one of these nerdy, like unpersonable people. I mean, he's such a
Sounds
bro.
hyper personable. In
Yeah.
fact, I'm gonna take a stab. He's probably a Sagittarius like myself.
Oh, you're making, dude. Truth be told, I don't know when the hell his birthday is. I've been friends with this kid for 12 years. I don't know when his
I'm not
birthday
even gonna lie to you. I don't even know Pat's birthday, and I've known him for like years now. It feels like years,
Kyle,
but it's only like
barely been a year and a half.
I know, but it feels like fucking years, dude.
Hey Siri,
It's
text
because.
Kevin.
Oh shit.
What do you want to say?
Bitch, comma, when is your birthday, mother lover? Question mark.
We're gonna get a response on the cast. I'm telling you right now.
It's sent.
I'm glad that didn't show his actual phone number. That would have been unfortunate.
That would have been awkward.
Yeah, I would have made
I
you blur it
don't know
out.
how I would have blurred that out. I would have really had to figure something out. Because I don't have video editing
Just
software.
just put a dick pic of me.
Yes.
front of
Yes. I will
Fine.
fucking do that.
All right, hold on. Let me get undressed. Hold on.
Kyle, chill the fuck out. All right.
Almighty man.
Fucking A. This conversation's been great. Dude, this has been all over the fucking place so far. But at this point in your 4-year story, you've gone through 3 producers. You've still managed to do this all yourself. So I have to ask, was this your intention from the beginning? Did you at any point seek out help from other musicians outside of the obvious answer that we already have, which is the harpist?
So, like, when I initially picked up the guitar at 19, so I'm 25 now, I think my intention was like, yeah, it'd be super cool to be like a For Today knockoff band and, like, you know, do those things. And so my intention was kind of like, yeah, you know, I'll start writing some riffs and writing some songs and get some like rough ideas. And then when I find a band, I'll have some stuff that I can work with, right? And so that process started that way, you know, like recording into my iPad. And then the whole world of like production and writing just like engulfed me. And it was like, well, yeah, you know, you can make a demo, but you know, if you wanted to, you can make it just a little bit better by doing this. And it's like, oh, that's cool. And then, you know, oh, you
It becomes a rabbit hole.
GarageBand Logic, and then it's like, oh, I can EQ these guitars, and oh, that sounds really good. And then, you know, you're 3 or 4 years into it, and you're like, shit, I've accidentally started my own like home studio, and it's like, and you know, before you know it, and so that it's weird because like I had the dream of like playing live shows and doing all of that. And that's like,
I mean, what other person does not dream of that? Like, honestly,
I
especially
think
with
you'd
music.
be lying to yourself if you didn't imagine
Facts.
that the second you pick up a guitar.
Facts.
But dude, like that's so like out of my mind now. And because yeah, since I am a one-man band, like if anyone is in the Chicago area or the Charlotte, North Carolina area and wants to, you know, be my metal bands, you know, by all means, shoot me a call, shoot me a text, give me a call.
And if you ever come to New York, but just let us know. We'll come out and hang.
Yeah,
So,
down.
listen,
I'd be fucking so down. 100%.
I'm just going to throw this out there, super low key and all, but after the podcast, I will have a proposition for you. But moving on.
I love that low key. I love that low key. I got a proposition for you, but low key.
Let's just say I've
he's
got a
gonna
lot of
try to-
ideas up here, man. It's
He's gonna
just-
I mean, we
I gotta
all
bounce
do.
some ideas.
I mean, we got
somebody.
propositions with fucking everybody that we interviewed, Pat. Literally everybody that we've
with
interviewed.
the exception of Party Cannon. Party Cannon's the
Yeah,
only one
true.
that I didn't do that with. And you know what? To be fair,
True.
we took 3.5 hours out of those beautiful Scottish boys. Time.
Oh my god! And Patrick fucked up on the fucking
Shut up.
Instagram
Shut the
thing.
fuck up. I know
It
they're
was
Scottish.
pretty cool.
Say
Drunk
we're Irish.
When I made that Instagram post,
No,
I would do
no.
that.
No, he made an Instagram story and it was like, yo, come check out. We got a new interview with Party Cannon. They're nice British people.
Oh.
I was like, I texted him immediately. I was like, yo, Pat, they're Scottish. And he was like, fuck.
I was like, fuck, I knew that. And I didn't message them afterwards to apologize. So if you're listening right now, first of all, we made
Party
it.
Cannon.
Second of all,
Party
sorry.
Cannon, we love you.
I know
Yeah,
your
first of all,
nationality.
Patrick is a fucking idiot. And second of all, come to fucking
Does all the
Albany.
work for this
We
podcast.
love you.
Dude,
Come to fucking Albany. We love you. And we
I
want to
love
have
you.
beer with
love those headphones. Love your babies. I'm there.
you. Love
I'm there,
everyone.
man.
Oh,
We're
fuck.
there. Fuck, dude.
We're already 99% of the way there.
Dude, all we need is a fucking. Oh,
All we need is him to send an attachment, which is just going to be his sperm.
Here, I'm here to donate my sperm.
Oh, everybody that walks into everybody that walks into a doctor's office ever.
I'm here to donate my sperm. I brought a fucking gallon of cum.
Have you been refrigerating that, sir? No, I have not.
No, I literally just did it about 10 minutes ago. I'm fucking
Gallon?
crazy.
God, are you trying to impregnate a horse?
I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that's
Is
how.
this how
I skipped out on biology as well as geography.
is this how you make a centaur?
That's how you make
Yeah.
a sense. I fucking hate you.
I can tell that you are also a scientist.
I myself am something of a scientist. Sorry, you mentioned briefly in the beginning about your Willem Dafoe, so I had to throw out some Willem Dafoe quotes.
Dude, oh no, wait! I was pointing to that's not Willem Dafoe. That's Tommy Lee Jones. We do have Willem Dafoe. So the roommates that I live with. So all four of us are on our school's improv team, which sounds really stupid, but
No, it doesn't.
No,
dude,
it doesn't.
It's so much fun. It's
I would
so
love
much
to
fun.
do stand-up comedy one day. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I would love to do stand-up comedy. I might just love just my life.
Kyle, this podcast is the first step to getting into stand-up comedy.
That's
Moving on. Your story,
Moving on.
Mr. Jared.
So, gosh, my roommates have the most beautiful and stupid sense of humor. So we have, I don't know if you can see it, but we have like an entire wall of memes that we've created. None of these are like printed out from the internet. These are all like things that we've made. And so like one of them, it's a picture of my roommate Ben, and it says, "Ben says no to children, but yes to Drake." And it's a picture of his face and Drake. There's no logic to it. But then also
No.
they did this whole campaign where they spammed the campus with pictures of Tommy Lee Jones and said, "Tommy Lee Jones for freshman class president." And like, dude, so because to post pictures on our campus, you have to get it approved by the student activities office. They stole the fucking stamp and like stamped all these posters.
That is fucking amazing.
Literally me if I went to college.
Oh my god.
Oh
Literally
my
me.
fucking god.
Yeah, the whole
That
bit
sounds
was
like
that
our fucking van, Pat.
it was
Oh my god, the
Jones,
days,
like
the stories
crazy
we'd have.
college,
Oh my
and
god.
Willem Dafoe was his running mate. It was oh gosh, it was so good. It was so good.
That sounds like our fucking van, Pat. Like, that's not even a joke, bro. That's
So,
not even a joke.
Out of curiosity, I will continue to propose this idea until the day that Willem Dafoe passes away.
Okay.
Willem Dafoe needs to be the Joker once. Just do it once.
That's fair. Dude, you're okay. Okay.
And I've seen photoshopped images of him and his creepy ass smile, and I'm telling you right fucking now, it needs to happen. He'd be a damn better Joker than he ever was a Hobgoblin.
Okay. He would also be the
Nerd
only
alert.
person in history to play the Joker and Jesus. Which I mean,
Play Jesus?
he played Jesus
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
in The Last Temptation of Christ.
Yep.
Now that is something I would not know.
Yep.
That was I only saw like bits and pieces of it, but that's the kind of Christian movie that I can like get behind because it was super bizarre, and it was like not the conventional like.
I surprisingly watched this, and I would agree with him. It was fucking crazy.
You're
Yeah.
not talking about the Mel Gibson flick, right?
No.
No. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna look this up later.
Dude,
I will
there's,
have
like,
a review
one
for you
scene
later.
where it's like Willem Dafoe is casually talking to the disciples, and he like takes his finger and like carves open his chest and
Oh,
pulls
yeah.
out his heart and is just like, "Follow me," and it's like, where the fuck is this in the Bible? It was.
I'm sorry, if somebody carved their fucking heart out and showed it to me, I'd be like, all right, I'm this
All
religion
right,
now.
I guess I'm your
All right.
bitch now.
Yeah, I guess. Do you want lube or no lube? Whatever you want at this point.
Personally, I'm a dry guy, but if you want to lube it up,
Fuck
fucking
it.
go for it.
Whatever. I fucking work at Walmart. I get it dry all the fucking time. So might as well just fucking do it at this point.
And I work at Starbucks, so I'm always covered in syrup. So I might as well always be.
Covered in syrup.
Yeah, might as well be the victim in this
no.
instance. Oh, man.
Okay, you guys want to hear something super controversial?
Oh, God, here we
go.
We
So
love
I, like everyone else, loved the Joker movie. But here's my thing. Here's my take. I've seen Suicide Squad 3 times. It's a trash movie. It's awful.
That's a
But
fact.
I think that Jared Leto's Joker was great, but he was handed a crappy script and a crappy movie.
Well, the problem is, okay, let me get into this. The problem is they had like an hour of his recordings, but
Really?
they never fucking used it. Yes. They had
Yeah.
like
There's a lot of
hours
footage.
of him recording.
And I
But
think
they
there's something to be
never
said
used-
about the fact that there was one producer involved, or director, I should say, one director involved, and then down the line, they added a second director to the
Yeah.
mix. And so things started changing. The initial idea for Suicide Squad was more of a punk rock image. And then when they introduced the second director, you start noticing little subtle changes where it starts going from punk to bubblegum punk rock. So it's like saying, okay, we're going to start with Operation Ivy as the concept, and then we're going to go to Avril Lavigne as the finishing product.
Fair.
So
Yeah, well,
to be
if
fair,
he's-
I'm
yeah.
sure Jared Leto's Joker could have been a million times better.
Oh, no, 100%.
In
He's
my-
pissed. He's pissed about that whole movie because
And
he
has
had
every right to be.
hours of
Yeah.
fucking footage of him being Joker. And I was like, just fucking, like, they could literally make a whole movie of just his recordings. That's fucking terrible. Like, that's terrible to
With
say.
that said, I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that Jared Leto's Joker was supposed to be the romantic Joker, which
Yeah.
is more commonly not the popular idea of the Joker. So the
Yes.
romantic Joker is supposed to be different because it's more about his story with him and Harley Quinn than it is
Yes.
about him as being the psychopath that we, or I should say sociopath, that we all know and love him to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with
Yeah.
that said, that is why the new Joaquin Phoenix is a more popularly accepted Joker than said Jared Leto Joker. I think it probably would have been more widely accepted if he did not have fan art tattoos. Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Not gonna say that Joker has not been displayed in canon with tattoos, just saying that they weren't these seemingly fan art tattoos.
Yeah.
So
Especially the ha-ha things. I saw the ha-ha tattoos on
The
his fucking
hand
eyes and shit, and I was like,
smile
really?
was
Come
the
on.
hand smile was clever
Yeah.
as like a
Don't
one
get me
joke.
wrong.
It's a one.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
one
don't
trick
get me
pony
wrong.
kind of thing.
The
But
only fucking Joker that I could actually be with this fucking man bun that I have. Other than that, like, come on, yo.
are you about to talk about this guy right here?
Yes, that's a fact.
Hot damn. Oh, we're dealing with a real fan.
Me and
That's-
Heath Ledger go way back.
Oh, yeah, we
Um,
actually drank together. We actually snorted coke together, actually. Oh,
this
it
was right
crazy.
before he was talking about that scene he was going to do, and I gave him the idea to just set off a random bomb during the scene of him dressed as a nurse at the hospital. I
Even though
gave
that
him
scene
that idea.
wasn't
No, I didn't.
supposed to happen. Even though the scene was not supposed to happen at all.
It
But,
blows my mind.
Heath
Gosh.
Ledger's Joker will forever be iconic.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear.
Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna
He
make you fucking
slams his
disappear.
Fucking head. Slams his fucking head in. Ta-da!
I'm gonna make you disappear.
I'm gonna make you disappear. Okay. Wow. Now I'm Owen Wilson. I'm a fucking mage in World of Warcraft. Wow.
Oh,
Okay. Before we can keep shooting the shit about whatever, I'm happy to take it wherever the wind blows. But before you guys yeet me off the podcast, I do at least want to talk about the two give a plug for the 2 title tracks on the album. Before you guys, like, I don't know, you got diapers to change, you've got booze to drink, Jaeger bombs to down.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And streams to start on Twitch.
Streams just, oh shoot, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I need to get into the Twitch community. I need to plant my roots there.
Kyle's the guy to go through for that.
I mean, I'm more of a YouTube guy when it comes to knowing about YouTube, to
Mhm.
knowing about it. I mean, I'm still new to Twitch, honestly, but yeah, I mean, if you want,
I'm on
like,
over to the dark side.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Come on over.
It feels to me like you have something interesting, like a story to say about the 2 title tracks. So I'm curious.
I can't get over like how batshit crazy the story of these 2 martyrs is, and how like gut wrenching it is. And it's one of these weird chapters of history that's like way too quickly glossed over. And it's like, man, with all the like bullshit movies that Hollywood makes, how have they not made a movie about something like this? So the Perpetua and Felicitas are 2 young mothers in prison in Carthage in North Africa. And, you know, they're about to be martyred. So they're under Roman government. The Roman government is like, hey, quit being Christian and just recant. And the thing that, like, I feel like people don't really have a good understanding of, like, what the Romans were asking of the Christians. Because Bart Ehrman, who is he's an atheist, but he's one of the top New Testament scholars. He points out that, like, the whole reason why there was any persecution, it wasn't like the Romans were like, yeah, these Christians we just hate Jesus and we just want to persecute everyone who loves him. What it was is they saw it as a threat to civility, because it was like, well, if you have a god, if you say that you have a king who is above Caesar, well, then how can we trust you to be a good citizen?
Right.
And so basically what the Roman government was doing was saying, like, hey, it's fine if you're a Christian or whatever, but what we need you to do is we need you to basically, like, pledge allegiance to Caesar. And, you know, just promise that you'll be a good citizen, and maybe you burn some incense on behalf of the Caesar to, you know, pledge your allegiance to him or whatever. And they saw that as a violation of conscience, and they saw that as, like, partially idolatry. So I mean, like, it's not, and I'm not making a political comparison at all, but, like, the same kind of, like, outrage that people have had at people, like, sitting out for the national anthem, it's very much akin to that kind of social outrage.
Right. I have a story about that. Actually, when I was in school, when I was a junior and senior year mostly, but I went to a different school. It would be a BOCES. I don't know if you BOCES. BOCES is literally, I'm a graphic artist from that. But I haven't done it.
Upstate New York thing. It's a program to help you learn other skills other than what the traditional schooling would teach you.
Like logging, farming, art, basically. Yeah, you fucking name it. Welding, it'll get you in a good college and it gets you in a good job. But I was a graphic artist. I graduated as a graphic artist. I haven't done it in fucking years, so don't even fucking message me. You're gonna get shit, okay? I don't have the fucking technology for that shit anymore. But yeah, I mean, basically, I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but in senior year, I never stood up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mm-hmm. Not gonna lie to you. Not even gonna lie to you. I did not. Basically, I mean, yeah, it was kind of rebellious. Yes, it was rebellious.
Can I ask you something, Kyle, before you go on? Was this Bush era?
No, not even close.
Obama?
It was Obama-wise,
okay.
yes.
Oh, wow.
Go on.
Bush, I was in fucking kindergarten, my guy.
Yo, motherfucker. I'm talking about Bush Jr., not Senior.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like senior. I was like, God damn, bruh.
Well, if you were against Bush Sr., a lot of red flags. Bush Jr., whole other question, because Bush Jr., everybody
We're gonna
fucking
take
hated that motherfucker.
Hurricane to justice. We're gonna take
Because-
Hurricane Katrina to justice.
The exact time period in your life that you did
Yeah.
not stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, I did not either. I took a very anarchistic stance at that time period in my
Especially,
life.
I mean, honestly, if I was in school right now, especially for Donald Trump, everybody knows my hatred for Donald Trump, but that's besides the point. But I don't know. It's more or less, yes, people get really pissed about it. Speaking of Kaepernick from fucking football, kneeling on the fucking Pledge of Allegiance. But it's, I mean, oh, it's freedom of speech. Yes, it's freedom of speech, but it's like, don't go fucking crazy. I understand, like, my grandfather's a veteran, okay? I understand, like, the respect for our veterans and shit like that, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, freedom of speech definitely comes into play. I just didn't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance when I was a senior and junior year. I never did. I mean, it's basically like I said, freedom of speech, because I was always taught you always stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody's taught in the United States to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really know what to call it. I just never did senior year, junior to senior year. I really don't know what to call it, but I never did. It was like me and two or three other people that never did.
That's
I think it was
interesting.
more or less like, I know there's a shirt, and you probably have seen it through different Facebooks if you're against like Trump or something like that. It's build this wall, and it shows a wall between the government and religion, like a church.
So
So
separation of church and state.
Yeah, separation between religion and state.
Right.
I think that's more or less why. Because it was more or less like, if you know the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, an individual and under, oh my God, I haven't fucking, indivisible and for justice for all. You can see how long I've been out of school, so I don't know what the fuck it is for fucking no reason, but I am drunk. But I think it was more or less of the God version of it, because I was trying to find myself senior year and junior year. But then again, senior year, I was really going through a hard time. So I was very big into rebellious and self-finding and shit like that. So I can see why I didn't stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance under God. I think that was the main reason for under God.
So it's interesting that like you bring that up, and you know, like I'm sure that you got. Well, I mean, would you say that you got some like awkward stares or like some people like?
I would have to say the first time, because I was in a different school. I'm pretty sure if I was in school, in my actual school, I would have definitely gotten some looks.
Yeah.
But when it came to BOCES, it was like 5 different schools in one class. So it was like
interesting.
Yeah, it was like me and like 2 to 3 other people in the same school, with like 4 other fucking schools that varied between 2 to 3 people. Varied. So when it came to that, I mean, some people did agree with me sitting for the Pledge of Allegiance, and obviously the teacher didn't like that, but the teacher didn't really like me, so
yeah,
I can't really say nothing. But definitely in Schuyler, what I lived with, shout out to Schuylerville. I mean, the school that I was in was definitely, I wouldn't say a Christian school, but you could definitely tell it was a definite Christian school, because a lot of people were Christian. It wasn't, I would have to say a lot of people were Christian in that school, but that's besides the point.
Right.
But no, I didn't really get any really looks when I was in BOCES, that school.
Okay. So I mean, like, you know, there's definitely like a discussion to be had about like how much distinction we actually have between
Right.
church and state in this country, but like compared to ancient Rome, it's like it's not even a question.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
religion and politics were so
Oh, yeah,
immediately
definitely.
intertwined. And that's kind of the interesting thing. It was like you couldn't make a stand for religion without it also being a political stance.
Right.
And so that's like where kind of some of the complications come in. So by refusing to do a spiritual act, what the Christians perceived as a spiritual act, they were, you know, seen as political threats. So it's kind of like a weird way to conceptualize it, and it honestly rubs a lot of Christians the wrong way, right? Because they want to feed into the victim complex of like,
And it also rubs veterans the wrong way, very much so, especially.
That's fair.
Because my grandfather is like, especially with the Kaepernick thing, my grandfather was fucking livid the whole fucking time.
Right.
But it was, I mean, but he's like from an older time, so he chose words that were not appropriate for this time age. But
right. No, I get that.
It would have become a meme.
well, no, we're not becoming that. No, we're not. No, no, we're not.
Well, so with the with these two female martyrs, what made their story so gut-wrenching, right? So they take a stand against, you know, this political spiritual act, and basically it's like, well, you're defying the government. We're going to put you to death unless you just do this simple act. You say, I recant Christ as the chief, and I claim Caesar as the chief. And so they refuse to do that. And you know, we always like the, stand up for what you believe in. But in their case, Perpetua, and I mean, both of these girls were young women. They were in their early 20s. So Perpetua, she had a young toddler at the time. So it's like she's in prison and her father is literally coming to her prison cell, banging up against the prison cell saying, like, just recant, think of your child. And so what's crazy about this is we have Perpetua's prison diaries. It's one of the oldest writings of a woman in history. And we can read it. You can look it up online and see like the entire transcript of it. It's insane, but you can just watch her talk about like, and my father came to prison today and he shook himself and banged up against the bars and you know, and I felt pity for this, you know, poor old man. And it's very clear, like the kind of like resolve and dedication that she has to like not recant about this. But there's a difficult question there to be like, regardless of what you're standing up for, if you're going to leave your child as an orphan, that's something to be reckoned with. And so that was Perpetua. In the case of Felicitas, her prison mate, she was pregnant while in prison.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And it gets weirder. It gets weirder. So under Roman law, they were not allowed to persecute pregnant women. They were not allowed to, you know, throw them to the gladiators or the wild animals.
It's not like now.
So she would basically have given birth to that child in prison.
Well, so here's what happens. Essentially, you know, the plan was the Roman government said, okay, well, we'll wait until after she gives birth to execute her, but we'll go ahead and execute the rest of the Christians. And the thing that was so visceral is Felicitas was in prison praying, God, I pray that I give birth prematurely so that I can be executed with my fellow Christians rather than with common criminals.
Holy shit.
And so sure enough, she gives birth shortly before the execution date of the rest of the Christians. And the way that the document describes it, so you have like Perpetua's prison diaries, and then you have another contributor to the document who actually like catalogs their martyrdom. So the way that it's said is the day of the martyr's victory shone forth. And if they were cowering, it wasn't because of their fear of death. It was because of their excitement for getting to go to God. And it says that Felicitas walked into the executioner battle arena and her breasts were still dripping from childbirth. I mean, just like that fucking scene.
That's crazy.
It's like, I can't get that out of my mind. It's like so visceral, and it's like, and so the whole track of Perpetual is written from the perspectives of the mothers, you know, like literally dealing with heaven and hell. And I mean, through all of this, Perpetua is having like visions of like these ecstatic visions of heaven and of Jesus and of, you know, crushing the skull of the devil. And I mean, it's like this insane narrative. But so Perpetual is from the perspectives of the mothers, questioning if they're doing the right thing. You know, even just for a moment, you know, titillate the idea that what they're grappling with is real. You know, it's like, is my child going to grow up hating me? You know, like everyone in the world, everyone in the Christian community is going to praise me as this, you know, valiant martyr. But is my son going to despise me for leaving him behind as an orphan? That's something that people don't wrestle with. So you have that issue on the one hand, and I mean, like that's something that like needs to be grappled with. And so the way that Perpetual ends is sort of like on this disillusioned note of uncertainty, and then you hear that tremolo that Patrick, you were asking about earlier, and it carries from the one song into the next.
Yeah.
And
yeah, right.
The idea is that like it ends on such a dissonant, chaotic, hellish note, and then you hear the ambient section of Felicitas come in, and
which is where that next song picks up.
Mm-hmm. And
gotcha.
When I wrote that, like I couldn't shake the feeling that like that little ambient guitar, it's like you have the tremolo, which sounds like a baby screaming, like a baby wailing, and then you hear like this soft ambient guitar come in, and it's like comforting. And so it's the transition. Perpetual is written from the perspectives of the mothers, and Felicitas is written from the perspective of the children.
Right.
And so the whole idea is that, and you know, we don't know, right? Like we have the documents from Perpetua, but we don't have any information about what happened to their children. They could have grown up to hate their mothers and you know, despise them to the core. But the way that I imagine it in the song is that these kids grow up, you know, essentially like, I mean, just think about that, like growing up and hearing stories like, hey, you know, Jim, John, Jim, gosh, that was such a bad 3rd century Roman name. But, you know, like growing up hearing like your mom was a hero. Well, yeah, if she was such a fucking hero, why'd she leave me? Why did she leave me as a bastard?
So, interestingly enough, the song that's titled Felicity, which would be translated to joy, is really about conflict and not so much about actual joy.
It's about both. So the song,
conflict that brings you to the joy.
So I mean, like the way that I imagine it is, I feel like you know, and you can only speculate, right? Like you don't really know what that would be like. But I imagine it as being like, man, I'm pissed at her for leaving me behind, but damn, she did it.
Yeah.
And you know, like, which would you rather have? Would you rather have a parent who stuck to their guns even if it meant leaving you behind, or would you rather have a coward for a mother?
That's definitely a fucking question. That's definitely a question.
And so
I mean, I'm trying to relate the answer to like, you know, like my perspective, like
Mhm.
other than my mother, my father. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, obviously it's completely different, but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to like understand that perspective through like the child's version, like the story that you told, but I obviously can't relate, obviously, but I don't know. That's definitely a difficult question. Honestly,
Mhm.
that's a very difficult question.
I think that because it's so stupidly deep, like, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like, it is so stupidly
Hits
deep
blunt.
of a question.
Fuck, hits
Seriously,
blunt.
right?
Joe
Like,
Rogan style.
yeah.
Hashtag.
Um,
Well, I'm not even. All right, let's continue because I'm gonna get
But-
completely off topic. Continue.
So stupidly deep, but yet also vague enough where
Yeah.
anybody who is listening to the song can kind of take their own interpretation to it. And that is where I got that's the gist that I picked up from lyrically on both songs, both Perpetual and Felicity.
Mhm.
And I think that that's important personally. That's just my opinion. I think it's important that things are vague enough where people can take their own interpretation to it, but also still understand the original vision, which is what the writer had in mind.
Yeah.
So, was that your intention, or was that just what the result became?
One of the mantras that I've developed in my writing process has been mean what you say, but don't say what you mean. And
Facts.
that's the
I'm gonna yell that
biggest
from the rooftop. Fucking facts.
that's the biggest thing that Christian bands struggle with lyrically.
Mhm.
No, fuck. It's not even just Christian bands now. It's like
I think it's just in
bands
general.
It's
Yeah.
like it's a
Yeah.
poison in the metal scene, dude.
Yeah.
And like
I mean, yeah, I can see where you see that. It's like you want to say what you say because I'm more of that kind of artist. I don't give a shit what
Hmm.
you think about me. I'll say whatever the fuck I want,
for
no
sure.
matter what.
And dude, like
But-
there's such a
Yeah.
place for like beat down hardcore like that. And I'm even thinking about like Rage Against the Machine and System of a Down, where these
Yeah.
guys just like there's no well, System of a Down, they do have some ambiguity, but like, you know, like the
Even
prison song.
for their
Even fucking- yeah.
their respective genres' sake, like that's very direct, very bold.
Same thing with going into rap, MGK. MGK.
Mhm.
100%. Especially with his brand new album. I keep plugging that in every fucking
do.
episode.
You literally
do.
do. But you know what,
Especially-
Kyle?
I'm
I've
gonna
come to realize
quote
that the people who identify with MGK's music, they are all like that. So
Oh yeah.
it is what it is,
Especially-
man.
As I may quote, because he doesn't give a fuck. He just says it. It's like I put my daughter to bed and attempted to kill myself in a kitchen. I should have screamed, yeah, swear to God. And and I can't remember what episode it was, but there was an article where he actually showed his daughter that song and talked to her about what he struggles with and told her, like, hey, this is what I did. I
Oh,
put you to
my
bed and I attempted to kill myself. Blood dripping, and as he can say, me and death keep tongue kissing. Different
Mhm.
way, yeah, basically.
No, that's good.
And if you don't know what song that is, Glass House by MGK, look that shit up.
I'll load it up.
It's really good. But
But,
yeah,
like,
I mean, I'm basically like that kind of artist. Like, I don't give a shit. I will
Yeah.
tell you my whole story,
Mhm.
no matter what you think of me. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit.
For
I've
sure.
been through that.
And like I see such a like palpable difference between that where it's just like laying it out and being real, and then but then there's a difference between that and like people who are trying to make like almost, I don't even know how to describe it. Like in my mind, I it's like highbrow art, you know, where
Right.
you're trying to grapple with like the biggest concepts of reality and existentialism and all of this other stuff.
Right.
And it's like it grieves me. Like it makes me mad that like so much time was spent on the production and the publicity and like the tracking and recording of all of this. And like the heart of it, the gut of it is so fucking shallow and insipid. It makes me mad. And it's not even like a Christian or an atheist thing. Because like there's a good way to like criticize God and criticize religion. But like even today I was watching like a band that I won't name and a song that I won't mention, but like it's just like the heart of it was like, fuck you, God. It's like, fuck, man. Just there's a better way to say it. There's a bigger story.
There's a definite better way to say that. Like,
and it's
man, it just like makes me mad. It's like,
I agree. I mean, there's completely different ways, like different genres of bands say it like perfectly. Sworn In, for instance, Hypocrisy. Their song Hypocrisy. Like they say it very well, but there's other bands that are like you said, like fuck God, fuck this shit, fuck that pussy, blah blah blah. Like no. Like,
I feel like I have to quote I Declare War here with their one T-shirt that says "Hail Satan, chug whiskey, eat pussy." It's like it's just one of those things that's like
fucking Hail Satan, eat ass.
It's ignorant for the sake of being ignorant.
Yeah.
At the same, like they embrace that, but we definitely touched on this topic last week or yesterday, I should say, when we did our episode about religion in the music industry, and that's that. It is something of a cop-out to just write an anti-Christian song.
Right.
Because it's very easy to do at this point. We have countless examples.
Yeah. You
can take all the quotes from Nietzsche that you want, and you'll still sound at least a little bit original. Like, because who's really going to sit through 48 pages of the Antichrist? I couldn't, because I already knew everything that was said in it. But at the same time, in the 1800s, that shit had never been heard of. Yeah. So it's in this era very hard to stand out as being an anti-Christian identity. Not everybody's going to be the new Marilyn Manson of rock. Yeah. So I think the edgiest thing you can be is fucking Christian these days.
That's fair. Well, man, maybe, man. I don't know. And I feel I feel like I'm definitely in a weird place. Like, because I mean, I hope that like whether you're a Christian listening to my music or an atheist or a Satanist or whatever else, it's like, I hope that it just challenges you to think more deeply, because I'm an idiot. And odds are you're an idiot. And like all of this stuff deserves more thought than we've given it.
Oh, man. It reminds me so much of myself in the time period where I had first met Kyle. I was at the tail end of my religious studies, independently, of course. Didn't take any classes
I was actually at the tail end of finding myself, actually. It was more or less finding ourselves and like accepting what we were doing. That's pretty much how I was at one of the lowest points of my life when I met Pat. Honestly, I was at one of the lowest points.
But you know what, man? You fucking found your way up. You're doing better.
I fucking got it. Okay, I fucking got it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're loyal. I appreciate you.
Somebody say you're
Somebody
welcome.
say,
bitch, I'm gonna save myself. Anyway, it's it's one of those things. Like, you definitely got to find yourself, and it's tough in this current industry climate to stand out as either a anti-Christian or as a Christian band. It's not like it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you could get booked on a US tour right now just because you're a Christian band.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I think that we have touched just about all the bases that we can here. Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Kyle?
I don't think so. Other than he's a cock tease and wants my babies. But other than that, I don't believe so. No,
All right,
I don't.
literally,
This has definitely been the
on-
deepest cast we've done.
I've got
Yeah, that's
two
a
things on
fact.
my to-do list. Write
Oh,
head
boy, here we go.
breakdowns and steal Kyle's DNA through his babies.
I'll
Those are
just
the only
fucking
two
send
things
you my
on my
cum,
Apple
dude.
list.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'll just fucking send you my cum at this point. I'm not
I'm
even gonna
gonna,
fucking
I'm gonna
lie to you.
open my like college post office box, and I'm just going to find like a dripping envelope, and it's going to say "With love, Kyle." And I'm gonna be like, "Sweet, dude. Thanks. Appreciate
Fucking
it, bro.
yes, dude.
That's a good time."
I wouldn't even give you that. I would actually send you like a bottle of my cum in a box. Like I wouldn't send you an envelope. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
That's a Reddit post waiting to happen. That would blow up on the front page of Reddit.
That's a fact. I actually send one of my fucking people that I interviewed a bottle of my cum. It took like 10 hours, but I got you.
Create the bottle this big.
No, you gotta go all out, bro. You gotta go all the fuck out.
Fucking in. I made it all in one day.
At that point, you would just fucking hurt. At that point, you're raping yourself. At that point, like, come on, yo, like, come on, like, come on. At that point, you're just shooting dust or blood. It's one of the fucking two. It's not even fucking cum anymore.
If you get
Like,
cum
come on,
and
yo.
blood, if you get cum and blood, you've got a satanic ritual.
All right,
there.
chill out, cows.
I'm
You're fucking
just
milking
fucking
a cow
saying.
at this point. Like,
let's
come on,
milk
yo.
some cows, man. Let's milk some Kyles.
just think. You're drinking dyed milk. It's actually, there's blood in it. You're actually drinking period blood from a cow.
From a Kyle. Period
From a
blood
cow, not a Kyle, you son of a bitch.
I'd drink some Kyle milk.
I mean, I drink, so I'm just saying.
Ugh.
I need to specify to my listeners that I am a heterosexual, just in case I get any
Just in
unique
case.
stories.
Just in case. Now, if you haven't been paying attention this whole time, where could we find Heliocentric music?
So you can find Heliocentric on Spotify, on Apple Music, Amazon, wherever else. The easiest way to do it is to search for the album, which is Perpetual Felicity. Yeah, you can also follow me on Instagram. That's probably where I'm most active. That is at Heliocentric Band. So yeehaw.
Yeehaw, brother.
I have one last question for you,
What you
and I
got?
think that this would be the perfect way to close this
Oh,
This
God, here we go.
beautifully deep
Here we go.
podcast that we've done. And of course, I'm hiccuping all the way through it.
Good.
Top or
Um,
bottom? Let's go. Top or bottom?
Obviously, on the top. But,
Bro, you a power bottom? The fuck?
bitch, I have to admit, I'm a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
I love it. Pat's like,
Um,
yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm a switch, bruh. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Totally. Leaning more towards sadist, but
I fucking hate
moving
you.
on. Come on. What did you expect from me? Anyway, moving on. The question that I have for you as we work our way out of this cast, how did you come up with the name?
Yeah, I would love to know that too.
Oh man. Okay, so it is a nerdy answer. Do you want the nerdy answer? I could come up with
I
something.
want every answer.
Bullshit on the spot.
Every fucking answer. My dick is ready. I'm ready.
Okay. So, the name heliocentric has a dual meaning. The first meaning is sort of like a little bit generic or cliche, but the idea was supposed to be that as the sun is the center of the solar system, so God is supposed to be the rallying point, the center of our lives. Which I'm an atheist, so take that for what you will. But then the secondary point, which is more interesting. So I don't know if either of you know this, but the term Trinity is not in the Bible. It's nowhere in the Old Testament, nowhere in the New Testament.
Oh
It's-
yeah,
Or
you're right.
I should say, at least in the English translation.
And even in the original Greek, it would not be in there either. The Greek
Ooh.
would be Trinitas or Triad. Neither of those are in there either. So the place where it comes from is it comes from Tertullian, who I quote a few times in my album. He's called the father of Latin theology, and he was a huge big deal in the early church. And so it gets into really nerdy theology area, but essentially in his document Against Praxis, he's trying to outline his idea of the Trinity, because it was a problem for the early Christians, right? Because it's like they wanted to say, hey, we're monotheists, but also like low key we've kind of been worshiping Jesus. And so it's like, are we polytheists now? Like, are there more than one God? Are we duotheists? Like,
Right.
what the hell is our deal? And then there's also this like Holy Spirit kind of on the sidelines. Like, what do we do with him? So Tertullian, and I mean, like, it was obviously like a much longer conversation, but the model that Tertullian tries to bring is in direct response to a concept called modalism. And this is kind of like in folk religion in Christianity in America. This is kind of how most people think about it. People think about the Trinity as being like basically the same dude wearing 3 different hats.
Yeah, I've,
Which
I've definitely
like-
heard that argument.
Mm-hmm. And according to all Orthodox forms of Christianity, that's heresy. Like,
Yeah,
and so
Mm.
because it's not one dude wearing 3 different hats, it's not water, ice, and gas
Right.
just changing forms. It's 3 distinct persons who are all the same being, which defies logic. And in all of the creeds, it expressly says like it's a mystery. You're not supposed to get it. But so what Tertullian was trying to establish is distinction without division. And so it's not a perfect analogy, and I have to preface it with that. But the way that he describes it is he says it's like a star. Now, when you look at the sun, a star, you can say, "I feel the star," but you're not feeling the star itself. You'd be burned to oblivion. You're feeling the heat radiating from the star.
Yeah.
But in some mysterious sense, it is one and the same. In the same way, we say, "I see the star," but you're not seeing the actual star. Your corneas would burn through the back of your skull. You're seeing the light that is emanating from the star.
Right.
And so, in some weird sense, the light of the star is not the heat of the star. The heat of the star is not the body of the star itself. And yet, somehow, in some mysterious way, all of them are the star. So, in that sense, the analogy of the star is really fascinating to me, and it's crazy. It's so fucking crazy how like you get into the weeds real fast, and like how meticulous the theologians were about like saying the right thing, because well, if we phrase it just like this, well, now we've gone into this heresy. Well, if we phrase it just like this and use this analogy, well, now we've fallen into this heresy. And so like the precision with which they were trying to etch out this really not flimsy, but like wavering doctrine blows my mind. So yeah, that's where the name heliocentric comes from.
So now that I really quick, so Pluto.
fuck you, Kyle.
All right.
So Christians fucking Pluto. Excuse me?
I'll send you to my boy Jerry from Rick and Morty, and he's got a word or two to say about that.
I just had to say it when you were talking about stars. I was like, fucking Pluto. I got it. I fucking got this guy in a fucking chair right now. I got it.
I've got my counter argument ready to go. And
I got my
fucking Pluto.
Yeah, what the fuck's up, 8? What the fuck is up, Christians? Pluto. Explain that shit right now.
Say what you want about Pluto, but the Earth is flat. That's all I'm saying.
All right, chill the fuck out. Chill the
Bruh,
fuck out.
it's about
Okay.
time the flat Earth conspiracy gets brought up on
No,
this
right
episode.
now it's actually a donut. It's actually a donut
Oh man, the research.
with a hole in the middle. Do you not know what the fucking Earth is? It's a fucking donut. It's like a
Okay.
glazed fucking donut.
True story. Hang on. Wait. Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. All right. So I shit you not.
Here we go.
My friend group, all of my roommates and everyone else, we're collectively known as the Postmodern Flat Earth Society. That's like our friend group name, and this is our globe. I don't know if you can
For the listeners on Spotify, he is showing us a globe that just says "lie" on it.
and over. And it is kind of like one of our sacred relics, if you will. Ah,
I totally get
God.
that.
we've
I
had
love
way
it.
so much fun with that.
So, I'm sorry, we can't end the podcast on this note. We have to continue into this. So it's safe to say you do follow the flat Earth conspiracy that revolves around this religion, of course, because it is worth mentioning that the Musi we referred to earlier is a flat earther.
Really?
Earther.
Yes, he is.
Oh, he's a
But
brother.
also follows the and I forget the
Yahusha.
word for it. Yahusha. That's a whole other thing. But that's his argument for what the original name for God is. That's a whole other YouTube funnel you can go into. But
So
specifically, there is a religious, a Christian ideology that follows the flat Earth conspiracy. And is that what you referred to, or is that just this running joke with you guys?
It's just a running joke with us. I mean, like, yeah, for anybody who like can't see my body language with this whole thing, like over the
You're
Spotify.
listening
Or
to this in
even,
audio
like,
format.
Yeah, or even listening to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do need to specify. I do not.
He does not.
No, but dude, it's funny. So, also, I should mention this, just because I think it's interesting. So, technically, my major at university right now, I'm a senior, is theological heavy metal music.
Okay.
So, dude, I am way too fucking jazzed about this. So, I somehow was able to convince my school to take me into their interdisciplinary studies program. So Wheaton College's interdisciplinary studies program is the top in the nation, according to some analytics. So what I'm doing is I'm combining theology, ancient languages, and digital audio engineering, with my senior project being to write and record a heavy metal album, which will be after Perpetual Felicity, which hopes to discuss the dialogue between Christian and Islamic theology.
Thank you. Finally,
Holy
someone
shit,
is going to
okay.
do it.
It's going to be from a weird point of view, though. It's not going to be just a big middle finger to Islam.
Right.
Yep.
But
I'm glad you said that.
I think that there's like
Somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, I could talk all day about it. There's so many like fascinating facets of Islam that I want to touch on in the album, but very little of it has been written. I might flunk out of college and never finish the damn thing, so I don't want to pat myself on the head yet, but
I'm not even going to say anything because I think college is a waste of time. That's just my opinion, depending on what field you go into. But that's completely different.
We will
Dude,
talk
I
about
needed-
this at a different time.
I needed a liberal arts degree, and I was depressed as hell, and I was like, I just need to graduate at this point. And this program came in and probably saved my life. Like, dude, I can't explain how grateful I am for this opportunity. Like, and I'm learning more, right? Like, just damn it, give the kids like the chance to study something that they're passionate about, and they'll go leagues beyond.
Yeah. That and to pay rent, taxes, and all this other fucking shit to be an adult.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. But that's besides the point.
So
So
take it from
cheesy.
us, Kyle and Patrick. Kyle works at Walmart. I work at Starbucks. Take it from us. We're regular jackoffs. Finish schooling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, I don't care what you do. Just finish fucking high school at this point. Just finish fucking high school.
Get that
Like-
GED.
Unless
that
you want to
get.
work at Walmart. You don't have to
Walmart.
fucking have a fucking degree in anything. You can just like drop out of school at fucking age 16 and you can still fucking work at Walmart. We'll take anybody. Help your boy out. This place is fucking garbage. As long as you're a good worker,
It's
fuck
still
it.
going to be Walmart with or without good people.
Yeah.
That's
But-
correct.
Moving on. Assuming that there will be a second album,
Mhm.
I look forward. I really look
Yeah.
forward to entering into that topic of conversation at that point.
There better be breakdowns. There better be breakdowns. I swear to God. I'll fucking kill you.
breakdowns. I will break
There is
balls, your mind. I will break down your intellect and your will.
oh, you
I
better
almost
sample that
did.
in the new album.
Please edit that with some like distortion and reverb. Please make me sound cool.
I'll throw that through a vocoder. I'll let you know
Okay.
what happens.
Got
I
you.
appreciate it.
Got you.
Which, interestingly enough, I did notice a vocoder that was on that song, Phrygia.
Which one?
I did notice it.
They're in which section?
The beginning.
Like the creepy like intro stuff.
Mhm.
No, it was a pitch shifter.
What the
Oh,
fuck?
get fucked, Pat.
What
Get
the fuck?
fucked. Get fucked,
Did you
Pat.
call it? Did you call it? Dude, okay, so shout out
I didn't
to
call it. I just love proving Pat wrong for some reason. I don't know why. It's just my
Well,
favorite
whenever
thing.
I'm wrong, it is pretty entertaining. But
It's pretty fucking good. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because he's usually right. So
Dude,
it's like 75% at this point.
dude, we could talk all day about some of the batshit crazy, like the snippets of audio that I used for that song in Phrygia. You would not believe like some of the insane sects of radically charismatic Christianity that I drew from that, and those were the kinds of sects of Christianity that I grew up in, and my school of ministry was part and parcel of that
But
whole.
would you say that that song is very close to your heart?
Definitely the intro, yeah, because
Yeah.
like remember, it's like I don't think that the charismatic church will ever have a discussion like this, because a lot of the charismatic and Pentecostal world is not all of it, but there's a sizable portion of it that is anti-intellectual. That is to say,
Surprise, surprise.
well, it makes sense, right? Because like there's so much of it that is left to the unknown and the mystery, and a big chunk of what they preach on is like you need to quit like psychoanalyzing God and just let God be God, right? If he wants to take over your mind and let you babble in tongues, then quit trying to question it or quantify it. Just let go and let God be God, which is all fine and dandy, but like there's a lot of troubling things that like you need to address, and you know you can't just like sweep it under the rug or
Yeah.
dismiss it with some sort of
it's the same thing with like if you get possessed and you have a demon just doing like fucking Latin shit. That's kind of the same shit, but just different.
right.
If
Well,
that makes any
I think-
sense.
At the end of the day, I feel like all Abrahamic religions rely on one key factor, and that is blind faith. You do not question God, you just go with it.
Oh boy, he's got.
Tell
his
me if I'm
fucking
wrong.
thinking
Tell me if
cap.
I'm wrong.
He's got his thinking cap right now. I can
It's a
see
very
it.
strong argument against
It really
all-
is.
Abrahamic religions.
So it's an interesting thing, and you would have several, even in the Christian community,
Oh,
who
yeah.
would agree with you on that. The faction that I was in would disagree. So, you know, like I was a big fan of apologetics. So apologia from the Greek means to give a defense, like to give an argument for why you believe what you believe.
Right.
And so there's a big movement among intellectual Christians called the apologetics movement, which attempts to give a rational argument for why Christians believe what they believe, and to varying effectiveness. Right, you have some Christians like Alvin Plantinga, who are widely renowned in the philosophical world as like being, one of the top philosophers, period. Right. Even among atheist circles. You have other guys who are, very lowbrow Christian apologists who try to explain why the earth was created in 6 days. But then you have some people you have a big range in the middle of people who are trying to say like, okay, well, we believe that the earth is billions of years old, but we, somehow decide to reject human evolution, whatever the
or thousands of years old, or
right.
Yeah.
But so there's a wide spectrum of how competent and solid those apologists are. With the question of like faith, I disagreed with my philosophy professor, and he was a damn smart professor. But I hear a lot of people use the term faith as though it exclusively means blind faith, right? And to me, and the way that I always interacted with my religion, even when I was the most devout Christian, it always came out of a place of rationality. Right. And so for me, the term faith and belief is not associated with blind faith, but it's associated with trust and confidence, which for me comes from a place of rationality. So, for example, when I was 13 or 14, I had all sorts of like, I think God is telling me to do something. And, maybe it's something, stupid and like nonsensical, like
that term scares the shit out of me.
God's
like, I'm
speaking to
sorry.
me.
Yeah, that scares the shit out of me. That personally
reason.
scares the shit out of me.
No. And it's something that Christians need to wrestle with. Like, that's the thing, is like, I want Christians to be challenged by this, because like, like, I love Christianity, but I want Christians to be challenged and like expand and develop their own worldview and religion. So I remember being 13 or 14 at a small Pentecostal church where like it was preached on often, you can hear the voice of the Lord. And of course, by that they usually mean like you feel it in your heart, and that's God speaking to you. So fair enough. And so I at 13 or 14 started feeling like, yeah, God, I can't explain why, I can't explain how, but God wants me to sing in front of the conversation, How to Save a Life by the Fray. Just weird, stupid things like this. But then those promptings and those, like, okay, is this God? Is this me? Like what is going on? Got more and more strange and more bizarre. So at the peak of it, it was like, God wants me to interrupt the church service, go to the front of the church, kneel on the ground, and scream some esoteric babbling, which is like, I mean, just think about doing that. Like,
you wouldn't get very far, first of all.
No.
Well, in that situation,
depending on how extremist those people are. Like, you could say,
No. It depends
the Lord
on
is
those
talking.
esoteric ramblings, because depending on where you derive esoteric, because the esoteric as a whole is its own subsect of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So that could mean anything, really.
Yeah, it could be, it's the Lord talking through this boy, or it's demon. Like, it's there's no fucking in between at all.
And so, and you're not wrong, and it's a huge risk and a huge thing. But so play a mind game with me. You feel the impetus to do such a thing, and either it is the case that God is telling you to do it, that the devil or some other spiritual entity is telling you to do it, or that it's just you, right? It's your subconscious going
Well,
awry.
I'm bipolar, so that's a completely different thing with a split personality. So that's
Fair enough.
different. That's
Fair enough.
completely different. But yeah, no, I see where you're going with this. Yes.
Absolutely.
So let's examine each of these three options and what sort of outcome we ought to follow. Well, if it's, assuming that the teachings of Christianity are true, and it's the devil telling me to do it, well, God knows my heart, and I'm trying to follow his will in good conscience. I don't have any personal incentive in doing this. If the devil is trying to get me to do it, then maybe I'll do it, and I pray that God will correct me and lead me in the right direction. So, and I'm not doing anything of faith, right? So I'm not doing anything explicitly to hurt anyone. I'm not doing anything that would go against the core central teachings of Christianity. It could very well be the case that God is telling me to do this. So unless I have explicit reason to think that the devil is telling me to do this, I'm going to discount that option, or at least not follow that train of thought.
Yeah.
Is it me doing this? Okay, well, if it's me doing this, then what will I, what do I make of it? Okay, well, let's examine the outcomes of what will happen. If I do this, I'll probably go to the front of the church. I'll scream my head off for a minute solid, and then it will be super fucking awkward. And then, I'm a 13, 14-year-old, and people are probably going to have pity on me because it's weird. And I was, smart enough to realize that the people at my church loved me and cared about me and, wanted to foster my emotional and spiritual well-being, even in the midst of doing something so crazy and outlandish. So if it's me and I do this, then, the plus side is I learned something about myself. It's an act of self-confidence.
Yeah.
So, okay. It could be bad, but it wouldn't be life-endingly bad. Okay, well, what if God is telling me to do this? What if I obey, if I disobey? Well, let's presume that God is telling me to do this. God is omniscient, so he's probably got a pretty damn good reason for asking me to do it. Now, that reason is likely outside of the realm of my capacity to understand. In the case of I feel like God is telling me to give money to a homeless person. Well, it doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to know why he's telling me to do that. It's so that the guy can eat some damn food. But in the case of something so bizarre and outlandish
the drugs that
like
it
this,
takes to relax.
right?
Yeah. Correct.
So in the case of something like this, what if it were the case that what if it was the case that God was telling me to do this because there was some person in that church who would be so deeply impacted by the courage and the audacity of this young man that it would make them rethink killing themselves, right? Some totally outlandish option. Mm-hmm. I don't have access to that, but it's possible that whatever higher power is telling me to do this does have access to that. And maybe if I don't do this, well, maybe it's the difference between a person in that congregation killing themselves. Maybe it's the difference between a person in that congregation not accepting the Lord and going to hell. Maybe it's the difference between any number of crazy things. A kid not getting adopted, my own personal well-being and personal development not being nurtured and fostered. So it's you could imagine a lot of different things not happening should you choose to not follow through that course of action.
So would you say that your mentality is ultimately what the deciding factor is when determining which of these three options it could be?
I would say that rationality played an overwhelmingly large part in
for you personally.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that is definitely not the case amongst most of the religious or even just Christians.
Well, I yes and no, right? So
of course.
to say that, like, because it kind of, I don't know if there is such a thing as blind faith. And if there is, I think it could only be the product of a severe mental illness. I mean, a sort of grandiose delusion that's unprecedented. So people don't arbitrarily place faith in things. And I think that that's sort of sometimes like the way that it's portrayed. For example, like, well, you know, you blindly chose to follow Christianity. Well, no, you know, even if it's by a means of a logical fallacy, right? You followed the crowd. Well, that's still not blind. You know, there's at least some incentive to do so. I don't.
A mob mentality. That's a whole different thing as well.
Right, but like, you know, people have said like, you know, well, if you choose to believe in a God, why not? Or I don't want to misphrase that. But like, blind faith to me would be like, well, I'm going to stand outside for an hour, believing that a person is going to drive by and give me $1,000. That would be blind faith. Well, it's like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Well, I just blindly believe it. Well, what do you mean you blindly believe it? Like you had no impetus to do so? Like that's a nonsensical thing. Like, people don't do that. Yeah. And so when it comes to Christianity, it's like, well, I feel like God told me to do it. Okay, well, there's an impetus. And then there's this whole question of like, well, what barriers stand in the way between you and doing that thing that you felt like God was doing? So there's that. And I mean, it's that there is rationality that goes into it. There, you can definitely question how much rationality or how much thought goes into it, right? But the idea of there being a sort of blind faith, you know, like I just arbitrarily choose to worship my seltzer can, that doesn't make sense to me. Also, for those of you listening, I do hope that one of you starts a religion based on worshiping seltzer water. That would make me very, very happy.
You know, it's probably already a thing.
Probably is. I mean, there is this spaghetti monster fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pastafarian.
All hail.
Which is one of my favorite fucking religions, by the way. It's fucking great.
Mine is personally the Star Wars religion, just because.
Oh, that too.
That George Lucas created a universe that someone else could then in turn go and use as their religious outlet. Okay, that's cool.
I love that.
True.
You do you, boo boo.
My actual old boss actually has the Pastafarian Bible. The Pastafarian Bible. I swear to God. It's fucking good. I read the whole thing. It's fucking amazing. It is amazing.
It sounds like it would be a entertaining work of comedy.
Oh, it's definitely worth reading. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's definitely worth reading.
All right, boys and girls. We have had quite the conversation today, and we have hit damn near 3 hours. This seems to be one of those like meters that we seem to hit accidentally lately. So, guys, I want to thank you for sticking around for 3 hours again of conversation with another artist. Thank you again for checking us out. Add us onto the Instagram. Jesus Christ, these hiccups are going to be the worst.
Hold your breath, forehead. It's not that hard. You could have hold your breath when he was talking. It's not that fucking hard. Yes, it does. Yes, it fucking does.
If you think you have the miracle cure to the hiccups, send us an email to the newmusicpodcast@gmail.
Hold your breath, forehead.
Not hold your breath.
Yes, it is.
Moving on. Check out the Instagram. Add us on the Facebook group, because if you only listen to the interviews, you don't hear the ads. Anchor is our bitch. That's our host. That's the reason why we have this podcast. Yeah. And then, of course, add us to the Facebook group, add us to Facebook, add us to Instagram, and all the good shit. YouTube
just send us a message,
the only place you get to see us
like Jared did.
In video format.
Literally, just send us a message like Jared did. Like, literally.
Jared is the only person at this point that I did not actively on my own seek out as an interview. So, props to this motherfucker. He sought us out first.
Gladly.
So, again, I will state it. Heliocentric is the name of the band. Go check out Perpetual Felicity. I pronounced that perfectly in the
You
first
did.
take, and I'm proud of myself. So, check that shit out. Thanks again for being on the show. And
My absolute pleasure.
I bid you a farewell. And I'm about to click that big red button. Everybody say goodbye.
Kisses, everyone.
Bye.